We are live. Hello, YouTube. From the industrial wastelands of Michigan to the fruited plains of Iowa, this is the American Greed Factory.
Why relate to its sheer perversity?
You are the dead. Remain exactly where you are. Make no move until you are ordered.
We burn them to ashes and then burn the ashes. That's our official motto.
Now we can see you. Clasp your hands behind your heads. Stand out in the middle of the room. Stand back to back.
Who can explain the fascination of fire? What draws us to it, whether we're young or old?
Here comes a candle to light you to bed. Here comes a chopper to chop off your head.
And welcome to the American Greed Factory. This is Nathan.
This is Conlon.
And this week we're going to regale you with more stuff. Oh, wow, I'm getting on live audience feedback. Let's see what's going on.
Immediacy.
Oh, and my phone is...
Let's go to the phones. Caller, you're on the air.
Oh, this is a text, and I can't read that one. But anyway, welcome to the show. Good to have you back. Good to be back. We have a couple episodes. By the way, that overly long musical intro is just your chance to crack open some beers, get some popcorn, sit down, and get ready to watch this. In case you wonder why we're just staring off into space while this weird music and sound is playing, that's why. So welcome to the show. Get ready. We don't want you to miss a precious second of this visual and audio treat that we are presenting to you tonight.
Please enjoy the American Greed Factory experience.
Yeah, enjoy it while you can. We got banners now. Both banners on two sides. Fill your head, Conlon. There we go. I'm sure you recognize that one. That made it all the way to Iowa. It actually made it intact, which is the first. A lot of things sent to Iowa do not make it intact. There's some kind of...
And vice versa.
Yeah.
We sent you pans one time, and they got
fucking solid metal pans crushed. I don't mean the cheap, thin shit you buy at Walmart. The big, bulky, you can kill someone with this frying pan. And the post office, of course, is like, who, us? What are you talking about? We're just your friendly government agents coming to your door. We got eyes on you. Remember to see the side of our trucks. It says, we're watching. You better not complain. Oh, by the way, I'm wearing a new shirt tonight.
Yes.
This was sent to me by Matt. I don't know if he's watching. I think or listening at some point. I'll make sure I'm recording first. Yeah, I am. Good deal. Okay, yeah, Matt White sent me this. This is from Fiberglass Freaks in Logansport, Michigan, where he works and makes all his cars. I don't know if you can see this. If you are interested in a Adam West era TV show perfect replica of the Batmobile, they're the people to talk to. They're amazing cars, actually, to see and behold. They've been on Discovery, TLC, a bunch of shows in Britain.
Yeah, anytime there's some documentary, local news about here's our local billionaire with his toys, it's like their cars.
Yes, they are. The Fiberglass Freaks cars, they are nice, but they are very well made, and you pay for that. They are a premium product at a premium price. But it's like a Rolex. You can only get it one place.
Yeah. Well, yeah, look, they have tiers. They have complete original, and that's where here you're spending a ton of fucking money if you want all original.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the next time we did one podcast with Matt, me and him.
Yeah, I think didn't you have two?
Yeah, we did. We had a hometown podcast, part 1 and 2, because I think it was 4 hours. But yeah, we some of the procurement on that is pretty incredispedometer. It's like, where do you find that speedometer? Where do you find that equipment? And it's gotten more streamlined over the years.
Don't they own all that speedometers?
Yeah, they had all the rotating Edsel speedometers, I think, left in the world because they rotate like a dial. Matt can, as a matter of fact, Matt, if you're watching right now, feel free to call. I can actually pipe you into the show if I'm getting any of this wrong. But yeah, I believe they do. There was a place called Edsel Acres out in Arizona. They have out in the deserts. They have a lot of these car junkyards where they just specialize in one kind of car because things last forever in the desert. There's no moisture.
Dave's Bronco Graveyard.
Yeah, things like that. But that's I think now all that stuff's manufactured for them. I don't think they procure any of it as old stock.
Oh, okay.
It's just to streamline. I mean, you wouldn't. When I first heard about this years ago, I was thinking, that's really obscure. How many customers could you possibly draw? And a lot, I guess, and all over the world too.
Now that comics are like pretty much like have invaded all of movies, because no movie exists unless it's some like it's either it's going for an Oscar or it's a comic book movie, and that's every movie.
Yeah. Yep. The only original stories are Oscar baits, and everything else is comic book movies.
Yep.
But comic book movies are awesome now too. They're actually really good.
Yeah.
For the most part, they've the technology has kind of met the. I mean, I like the original Superman movies with Chris Reeve, at least a couple of them.
Yeah.
But that Man of Steel was a really awesome movie, and that was just not technically feasible.
No.
So that's, but yeah, but anyway, what is technically feasible is a Batmobile if you want it. Actually, licensed by DC Comics, they can make these legally.
Yeah.
And Matt said it was okay if I mentioned it on the show, so I can mention it on the show legally. Now, I don't know if Mark Rapko, the owner of the Fiberglass Freaks, would appreciate all the vulgarity and evil that goes on this show, but I think he's okay with it. Talking about his dream, and that is a cool thing. Can you imagine? Because I guess the backstory is there. It's like he loved these since he was a kid. They're kind of hard to recreate, and it's like I'm just going to start a business and make my dream cars. It would be like me making the Blade Runner spinners for a living, or the Road Warrior Interceptor. It's like, oh, this is my business. This is my job. And I make and they are amazing looking cars and huge. They're big cars.
Yeah.
So go to the website fiberglassfreaks.com. Check it out. Even if you can't buy a car, which 99% of Americans can't, maybe pick up a shirt or some other things that they sell. It's worth mentioning, worth seeing. And there's things all over YouTube about them.
And our integrity is spared because we're not getting a fucking dime for this advertisement.
I take no endorsement for a podcast that nobody watches. How could I? What is it to advertise on your podcast, Nathan? Well, let's see. Advertising is based on a per thousand basis. That gives us a certain amount of points and leverage. And right now we have 4 listeners, so I can I should pay you $30 for what you've just given me, because nobody watches, and maybe that's good because we don't get all the hate we should.
Just have your lawyer call mine.
Yeah. Call my lawyer. Speaking of lawyers, you see you've watched Better Call Saul.
Yes.
Which is a spinoff, a side road from Breaking Bad. How would you describe that?
Yeah, it's a spinoff. It's like, you take a character out of the original show and you give them their own show, so it's a spinoff.
Now, is it concurrent with Breaking Bad, or is it going in a new direction?
This is it starts off after Breaking Bad and then goes back in time to where Saul starts his career.
Okay.
As a lawyer.
Okay. I watched the first episode. That's how current I am. So,
oh, well, then you guess you're in for a treat, because like the first 2 episodes, they're kind of paying a lot of lip service to Breaking Bad, where they kind of go like, "Hey, remember Breaking Bad? We're the guys that did that show." So it's not as good as the next 4 episodes, which like it really comes into its own. It's like, oh yeah, the guys who make Breaking Bad know how to make a fucking TV show.
Yeah, they have done this. They have experience.
Because it gets really good, and it does a lot of that surprising stuff where it just plays with your expectations, like the way Breaking Bad did. But it's not Breaking Bad. It's not every week. There's not something. There's not like somebody's trying to kill us. Like, how are we gonna get out of this? And then like they find some weird way to get out of it. It's more just kind of just interesting angles that people take and interesting solutions.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost like a comedy. From what I saw of it.
I mean, he's always a comedic character, but it's not necessarily. I mean, whenever his brother comes in, like it kind of gets dramatic, and that's Michael McKean. He plays his brother, who's like a upstanding lawyer who now has some phobia against electromagnetic activity. and you have at some point you just have to assume that that's not a real thing. It's just imagined, but it's real to him. So he has like and Saul, who his real name is Jimmy McGintis.
Yeah, everything about him's a con, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, that's one of the things. Like he was like we find out in other episodes that he's kind of like a lifelong con artist, and like he got in trouble one time, and you don't know necessarily what for. And his brother gets him out of jail, and basically he has to swear that he's gonna like do everything from that point like by the book, and not con people. And so that's kind of like the dilemma he faces now, is that he's trying to be a legitimate lawyer, but he's like it's just not going so well for him. And the way he gets ahead is by just coming up with cons to run on people.
Yeah.
But they're different kind of cons. Like there's one he's trying to run a con because these people want to hire him to represent him, and so he's going to run a con on him, and then that goes awry. That's what the kids I think that's in the first episode where he gets the kids to like get hit by a car.
Oh, okay.
So that goes all wrong.
Of course.
And then, but yeah, it's really good.
Is electromagnetic sensitivity for real? Yeah, I think it was a Huffington Post ran a thing a while back about, you think Better Call Saul is a, I think it's that much of a farce. Think again, and they had ads for real lawyers, like out in California. They had guys with like dreadlocks and like, call so and so the rock and roll lawyer, and it was just like you knew it was bad stuff, or maybe it was good. Who knows? But it was kind of funny. It's like, yeah, they had some interesting.
Well, one of the interesting cons he runs is that so his name's James McGillis, I think that's his real name.
Yeah.
And his brother had a firm which he's only slightly attached to now because basically he's stuck in his house all the time. The house has no power, and he's like doing everything by like lamplight, and he has like a stove burner in his house that runs on gas.
Yeah.
And so the firm wants him to change his name because they think it's like they're infringing on their brand if he tries to advertise for himself. Because he has the same last name. So he puts up a big billboard where he's dressed exactly like the guy who's running the firm right now, and then it says his name on it, and the logo looks basically exactly like the firm that they have. And so they get a court order to make him take it down, and like he hires a news crew to like come there, and like he's basically making this puff piece like a local businessman is being put down by the man, these big lawyers. And then so the con they run is like there's a guy taking it down, like falls, and then you realize that like, and he runs up there and saves him, and you realize, oh, they planned that from the beginning. And so then he becomes like this big hotshot lawyer now, or this big news story like hero lawyer, like, and then the calls start coming in, and then the next episode is him meeting the people that call them, and they're fucking crazy.
Yeah, they're just nuts.
Oh, this is the first guy he talks to. He's like, I want to secede from the union, and he's like, this like Texas like oilman kind of like look to him. And then he comes back and he's like, so what will it cost? And he's like $1 million. And he's like, all right, I'll be back with the money. And he comes back and he has just a tray of money. And he picks it up and he's just like, looking at it like lovingly. He's like, I can't believe this is real. And like he moves the little band to the side, and it's like the guy's face is on the money.
Oh, yeah. Linden dollars.
So yeah, that was a pretty good review.
Yeah, it seemed the show I watched was interesting. It was even more interesting because of the Michigan. Outside of California, we're like known for the worst ambulance chasers in the world. I mean, they advertise here constantly, and I know people that have gotten car wrecks here. like car wrecks where like they broke their arm and maybe their car was totaled, they get $50,000 just like for saying hi. Of course, this is why we pay more for car insurance than fucking car payments in this state. But yeah, it's they've passed laws here in Michigan to try to stop it. Like you have to wait 30 days before you can solicit a client after an accident or whatever. But that's if you're a lawyer. However, you can hire any dude without a law license just to go into the hospital and hand out cards. And so it's like all the games they're playing here. You know, I don't like the ambulance chasing, but I also don't want to, like, you know, our dear Republicans here, they want to pass laws, and it's like, we're going to put a stop to high insurance rates and ambulance chasing. By making it impossible to collect on claims and or, you know, let your dad just rot on life support with no financial help. Like, that's going to make the system better. So you don't know which side to, you know, they're playing bad on both sides, but I tend to be like, okay, I'm fine with the ambulance chasers, I guess, because God knows I could be under a bus someday, and I don't want my family to be taken care of. And instead of some, you know, insurance executive greasing his pocket. You know, we love you, insurance executives. We will do anything for you.
Another show I watched, speaking of comics, I saw a show called Powers.
Okay.
Which is it's based on a comic book about cops who investigate crimes that involve people with superpowers.
Oh, okay.
And last time I knew, this was going to be on FX, and then they dropped it, and then the next thing I knew about it, it was going to be like a what the fuck do you call it? It's like a point-and-click adventure game on the PlayStation Network, and then all of a sudden, it's a show on the PlayStation Network.
Okay, wow, that's a jump.
Yeah, but it's not like, oh, we just threw this shit together. Like, it's like a real show. It has, like, Chartel Copley as the lead actor. It has Eddie Izzard in it. Like, it's got people in it that you know.
Huh. Yeah, I just pulled it up. Okay. Wow, really?
It's pretty good. It's very adult. So it's a very dark take on superpowers. So very Watchmen-esque.
Oh, okay.
And its take on superpowers and stuff like that.
Huh. So how would I watch this?
The first episode's free. You can just watch it online.
Okay.
Otherwise, I think you need either you need to buy an episode or you need to have a PlayStation Network account.
Oh, okay.
Like an Xbox Live account. Like, that's how it works.
Huh.
Or like Amazon Prime or whatever. But I have a PlayStation Network account, so I'll be able to watch more episodes of this. I don't know how long the season's going to be, but...
It says 10 episodes.
Okay.
In the can.
So yeah, that came out of nowhere, because I didn't even know it was a show. And, like, they showed... Like, last E3, they just showed, like, vague pictures of, like, empty rooms, and I was like, and then, you know, it was like CG, and it's like, okay, I guess they're just making a game, but they're not talking about it, and then all of a sudden it's like, it's a fully produced show. It's not on FX, because that was like the first I heard about it. Well, first I heard it was a cool comic book, and then I heard they were bringing it to FX, and I was like, alright, well, that'll be cool, and then just disappeared, and then suddenly it's here.
Huh.
And you can watch it.
Well, that's good. I'm going to check that out. I always like that actor. He needs to find a home somewhere.
And it looks like they have Eddie Izzard as their kind of go-to Hannibal Lecter.
Oh, okay.
Because he's like locked up in this prison, and they call him Wolf because they apparently he has the ability to like eat people and then like take their powers from them.
Oh, that's a good thing to have.
And like he tried to eat Chartel Copley's character. He was a superhero, and then like Wolf tried to eat him, so now he doesn't have powers anymore.
Oh, so there's the hook.
Yeah. So now he's just this cop. I like the chief of this like division, because they talk about like they're talking to him. This like they got a new detective come in because one of the guy got killed like in the first opening scene. And he's explaining the department. He's like, yeah, we never get a raise. We never get a raise in the department. All our stuff is most of our equipment is acquired in busts, and they're like, how did you guys deal with it in Homicide? And he's like, well, whenever the powers would show up, we were told to stay the fuck back. And it's like, yeah, we don't stay the fuck back. So I kind of like this just like fatalistic approach. It's like, yeah, we don't care if they have superpowers, we're gonna fucking take them on.
No matter what happens.
Yeah.
It's like storming the beach with machine gun nests in sight.
And the guy who plays the head of the department, he's very unassuming, so it was kind of an interesting take, because like you wouldn't expect that kind of like bravado from the kind of character that guy is.
Yeah. Well, good. I'll have to check that out. Speaking of Charlton Copley, me and Grayson were going to go see Chappie, but
oh yeah, is that
terrible things about it.
Oh really?
It's like 30%.
God damn it!
They say it's like Elysium. It's a problem. It's like it's visually appealing, but it's just the story's just not there. And they're going to let this guy do the Alien reboot.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. Maybe working with somebody else's material. I don't know exactly what the problems are, because District 9 was good. Elysium wasn't bad, but it was, again, it had the strengths of its weaknesses, and I just don't know. I don't know why that is.
I mean, Elysium just seemed kind of like a lot of things thrown together and not necessarily like smoothed out, or that could have used some rewrites.
Yeah.
But still, like, visually amazing. The production was well done, but it was mostly just kind of how the story was told that was jarring. And then yeah, I haven't seen Chappie, so I don't know what to make of it.
Yeah, I wanted to see it, but
damn, the guy's like 1 for 3, or 1.5 for 3.
Yeah, I don't. Like I said, I love his gritty, futuristic kind of interpretation of things and his strange colorations and all the things.
Yeah, I like that he gets to make original movies, because so few directors get to do that.
Yeah.
But of course now they're throwing him like, hey, here's Alien.
Here's Alien.
Prometheus.
Prometheus pretty much fucked that to death, so bring it back to life.
I was listening to the Unprofessional Fridays on Giant Bomb, and they were talking about they thought people hated Prometheus because it wasn't what they expected because of the alien link. I'm like, no. That's not why that movie's bad.
Yeah, that's maybe one reason, but there's a wheel spoke of reasons why that movie's bad.
I mean, the main reason for me is just that here's the richest and most talented and smartest people in the universe, and for the first half of the movie, and then it turns into a fucking Friday the 13th movie for the second half of the movie.
Yeah.
But with aliens.
Yeah. But not with the aliens you know and love. And they're making a sequel.
Yeah, I don't know.
Supposedly. I don't know, the Gods and Kings. What was that called?
Yeah, I think it was something like that, yeah.
Exodus, Gods and Kings really shit the bed, so.
Oh,
it made its money, but.
Oh yeah, because I was gonna say like that involved the Bible, so it had to like make money, didn't it? Regardless.
Yeah, I believe it did. Let's
Because
see, $140 million, production 260. No, it didn't, because I guarantee you with advertising, it didn't make that back. Because that movie was heavily advertised.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. The weird thing with movies, like they don't necessarily need to make their money back anymore, because now they have such a life after their release that they can make money just by having the rights to it.
Yeah.
Mostly like all that upfront stuff. That's for people who have like gross points and stuff like that. Because like when Will Smith gets like $20 million plus 20% of the gross profit. Like, if it makes obscene amounts of money in the theaters, then he gets some money. If it doesn't, he'll never see any money, regardless of how much money it eventually makes.
Yeah.
Because that's what they sell people on. I mean, that was the thing with like Jack Nicholson, where he got like the they like screwed something up in the contract, and they meant to give him like gross profit, but then they just gave him like the points like on the total production or something like that. So he ended up getting like almost $60 million for Batman.
That's nice. I'm done. Good night. See you later. Actually, I don't think Ridley Scott's ever made a movie that lost money, though. Maybe some of his early stuff. No, he did one. He did one with like that was about the.
I don't know, like. Did he do that Christopher Columbus movie?
Yeah, there was one that was really bad. 1492 Conquest of Paradise.
Yeah, and then he did
Let's see,
one.
what did
White
that-
Squall. He did another movie called White Squall, and I'm not sure if that was like a small movie that made money or if it didn't make money.
I don't. White Squall's a good movie though. Oh no, that one lost a fuck ton of money too. Okay, I was wrong.
I always thought like it was like after Blade Runner he kind of disappeared, and then like he didn't come back till like when everyone else recognized him, like it was Thelma Louise, and it's like, oh shit, Ridley Scott's back, but he's not making blockbusters. Like he's just making this small movie. And then he got to do like
he did Blade Runner, Legend.
Oh yeah,
And then
Legend.
some really fucked up movie. It was like a detective movie, but it was really bad. It had Tom Berenger in it. Someone to Watch Over Me.
Ah, I do not remember that.
Oh, it's really fucking weird. It's so bad. It's like, oh, are they just having fun? Is he mad at somebody? And then he did Black Rain,
Yeah, it's all right.
an action joint with Michael Douglas. Yeah, I've seen most of those, but don't know what's on the horizon for him. We'll see. We'll see what Neil Blomkamp can do with Alien. I don't know if it's a reboot or if it's a.
Well, I heard what they're gonna do is they're gonna disregard 3 and 4, and then they're gonna continue off that basis.
That's
So
a
they're
good
gonna-
idea.
They're gonna take 1 and 2, and they're gonna make a new movie based off of how 1 and 2 ended.
Okay, I could see that. I kind of like 3, but I can sort of see where that leaves you a dead end. Okay.
And it's gonna have Sigourney Weaver in it, so I think they're just gonna have her like be in cryo sleep longer, so then she wakes up older and have new crises. And apparently they're gonna involve some storylines from the video game. That's gonna have take into account something. So.
Which one? The Isolation?
Yeah, Isolation.
Oh, okay.
I don't know how much they're gonna pay service to that or not, because I always heard like, yeah, the video game's involved too, and then like it gets mentioned once. It's like, yeah, see how much we put behind that.
Look at the force behind that. How old is Sigourney Weaver now?
I don't know.
50s?
Maybe.
No, because Alien was in 78.
79. Alien was in 79, so
Okay.
she's in her 20s then. So
Oh,
That was like-
I'm gonna feel
that's like-
really old. She's 65.
I didn't think she was that old.
She went to Yale?
Probably.
Damn, she must be really smart.
The fucking who is it? God damn, who's the guy from U.S. Marshals and Fugitive? Tommy Lee Jones. He went to Harvard.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He was Al Gore's roommate.
And Meryl Streep, she went to Harvard too. Like they dated each other at Harvard.
Cool.
I can't remember. There's some documentary. I can't remember what it's called. It's called like Yale beats Harvard 33-33, and it has like all these people that went to school at the time that weird game happened, and they like interviewed them about it.
Yeah.
It was a tie game, but someone declared them the winner. It was fucking weird. I never actually watched it, but I remember sounded interesting. Like, here's a weird sports documentary that just gives us an excuse to interview people that have like way more high caliber names than what this documentary would ever produce.
Oh, yeah, that documentary, he was one of the main people in it. I didn't even know they played football.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought they were too rich for that.
No, they have an Ivy League.
Does anyone pay attention to it?
No.
Okay.
I mean, they get like the basketball tournament's coming up, so like they have their own league, so whoever wins that division, they get a spot in the tournament, but they usually always lose, so it doesn't really mean.
Yeah.
And Butler got the national championship fucking twice, but apparently a goddamn team of geniuses can't figure that shit out.
That's crazy. Did not know. Do people even pay to go to that school anymore, or does it just have so much money they just pick the people they want?
Oh yeah, they just pick who they want. I mean, they still got to pay out the ass, but pretty much if you're smart enough to get into those schools, you're making some sort of like outlandish scholarship to go to that school.
Yeah.
And then they have, their alumni association has to just be, ridiculous.
Oh yeah. Well, they run the world.
Yeah.
Between those two schools, those are the masters of mankind. Speaking of which, U of M has expanded its housing. Its student housing can now house 48% of its student body. It's a comprehensive housing system of any university. Because they just buying Ann Arbor. They're just buying the city.
So they just
when the real estate tanked, U of M became a big player in real estate. They bought everything, houses, restaurants. They knocked it all down.
It's a huge school, and a good school.
Yeah, I don't know.
Are they just building towers, or what are they doing?
Oh, all kinds of shit. Well, they've got so much. They're one of those schools that they got so much money that they just and so much money for, like, they have their sports thing, which is a cash cow, which I never quite got that because they haven't really done much in the last 10 years. But
it doesn't matter. It's like alumni. You just go there.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like the weird thing where I don't know. Actually, Michigan has enough professional teams that I don't know. Maybe that just intensifies it somehow.
Yeah.
But I mean, also the thing with like the crazy thing with the Big Ten is like so many people go to school in the Big Ten that they spread out across the United States because they fucking want to leave the Midwest, and so they get good jobs on the coast, and then they still love that team. So there's like I've heard people talk about like in like LA, there's like bars devoted to like each Big Ten team, so like people that work there can go to like the bar and watch the game, and it's like you have an Iowa bar, Iowa Hawkeye bar, like in LA for all the Iowa Hawkeye fans. Like that's how crazy that shit is.
Oh wow. Yeah, they're let's see, their research stuff. I think they're second only to MIT now, as far as a research university. They have a nuclear reactor, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like, oh, okay. Because they're as good in medicine. Actually, they're more known for medicine than they are engineering, but they have a lot of engineering there, too. Me and Stacy just had to go.
I hear they have a really good law school, too.
Yeah. Well, the lawsuit's kind of weird because they got sued for not letting a white girl in. And then they had to give her and a bunch of other people their money back after they graduated, and it was all weird. Like, what the fuck happened? Because they have this whole system of, what do you call it? Like, you got to have one of every color.
Yeah.
However they organize that, and they apparently they weren't filling all the slots, and this one chick wanted to go, and she's like, I passed, and I'm willing to go, and I have the money. He goes, no, you're not the right. They basically said you're not the right color. She goes, what about gender? Aren't I the right gender? No, well, it's got to be color and gender. She fucking sued him and won. And a lot of money, too.
They talk about, I just finished Outliers. They talk about that in Outliers. Not that case, but like their how they divide up who gets into the, and how they made it like, what do you call that? What was the term for that?
Yeah, there is a term.
God damn it.
Because we used to have it at work and they got rid of it. Affirmative action.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they found out like the affirmative action students, they may not have the better grades than other kids, but they find out like when they follow them after school, like all they needed, like they had good enough grades and all they needed was opportunity, and they do just as well as anybody else.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, they've been fighting that affirmative action stuff at U of M for years. because they get tired of holding all these slots open that nobody wants. It's like, we've got all these people that want to come. What the fuck are we doing? And then when they violate that, because now they're under investigation. And when they violate that, then the student body goes nuts.
Yeah.
And they're like protesting and stuff. It's like, what the fuck are you people doing? Because me and Stacy had to go over there for something to get checked on for her. And it was just like this glass tower, this amazing building, and it's like only 7 doctors in the world know how to do this, and 5 of them are here. And and it was like, and they had this parade of people follow us in the room. It's like, oh, they're just gonna watch me, because this guy was like an MD, professor, and he had like, I don't know how many titles this dude had. He's fun to talk to. I mean, he was a nice guy, but it's like, holy shit! And you just got these big glass buildings everywhere. They all say U of M on them. And they're huge.
Well, you gotta give those design students something to do.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
I want to be an architect. Well, you better live in your college.
Build medicals or design stuff for medical schools, and the school. The medical
Well, that's
school.
only interesting. That's the only interesting things you're gonna build, because otherwise the only other things people are building are mini malls and banks.
Yeah, they're not doing that for the art.
You know, in a college town, they'll design a hospital to look like a sphere for fuck's sake. For who knows? It's like, well, it looked like the Death Star crashed into the college.
Well, this place we went to, it was specialized in eyes. Just an eye center, 7 stories. Each story represented a different eye thing. It's like, you go to this floor for this type of eye thing, that floor for that type of it. Like the entire human eye was covered in that building, and apparently by the best people in the world. Like there's nobody better that does eyes, or nobody better that does this, or. But then there's like weird things, like what is it, the Presbyterian University of Texas? Like they're the best heart surgeons in the world, or you have these things like, how did that happen here, and why did that continue, and so it's always amazing to see what happens.
I hear new advancement in eyes is that they're figuring out ways to inject the red cones into people's eyes with the who are colorblind.
Oh, cool!
But apparently that it just causes unending pains.
Okay, not so good. I can see colors, but maybe not so good. I want that thing where they can inject shit into your eyes where I can see in perfect darkness. Like, I want my eyes to reflect.
You want a shine job?
Yeah, I want a shine job like Riddick. But when someone shines a flashlight around, I want my eyes to reflect it, but just look perfectly normal in every other way. You afraid of the dark? No, actually, I just don't want shin splints. Oh, okay. Tired of walking into shit.
That's cool.
There's no nefarious purpose behind that. I'm just tired of walking into shit in the darkness. Actually, I can't see shit at night anyway, which is weird because I have perfect uncorrected vision. Like if I go get tested, my vision's always perfect, but my night vision is horrendous.
Just keep one eye.
I literally have the brights on and my face pressed against the glasses. What the fuck is wrong with my eyes?
Just keep one eye closed.
Is that what does it?
Yeah. You have one eye that preserves you have one eye preserved for your night vision, and then the other eye is open for immediate assessing threats and stuff like that. Because that's the way I
drive around with a patch like the pilots, like in case the bomb goes off, I still have one good eye.
So we did it in the training. We had a course called Night Boomers, where they throw up. It's at night, and you're going through like this obstacle course, and they throw up flares, and you have to like get down and not move, and the flare goes up, and then you like close your eyes, so it doesn't destroy your night vision. And then when you get back, you open it, you close one eye, and you have it preserve the night vision, and so you still don't know what the fuck is going on. And then when the flare is done, you open up your eye and get moving, and then you can like if you close and open like either eye, you can tell like, oh yeah, that did preserve the night vision in my other eye.
That is weird. I didn't know about that.
That's how your eye works. I mean, like, yeah, it takes a while for your eyes to adjust to darkness, but if you sit there and like kind of pay attention to it, you'll see how like things start to come into focus and add detail. but
Yeah.
if you get light shine in your eyes, you lose all that like very quickly, and it's hard to regain it back.
I was hoping night vision goggles would evolve further, where they'd be like a sunglasses type thing, but still work.
Oh.
Do.
Yeah,
Instead
you
of
want-
like this big rig where you have no peripheral vision and your depth perception's gone. It's like you can see in perfect darkness, but well, no, you can't even see in total darkness. There has to be a certain amount of light,
yeah.
but they've never really advanced beyond the big goggles phase.
No. No, they're probably working on it.
Yeah. Well, it's probably one of those things that's like, let's not push this too far and make it readily available to the public
Yeah.
effectively, because then who knows what weirdness people will get up to. Because
Well,
if you had sunglasses that basically made you see like daylight, you would essentially be a ninja. It's like, we can't see this guy.
You also just be like aiding and abetting every like terrorist organization in the world.
That's true, ISIS goes to night operations.
Yeah, because I was like in the first Iraq War, a huge advantage we have is just the tanks had night vision and they just blew up the Iraqi tanks and drive into the middle of the night.
I still love that book I read about the Gulf War. I forget what it was called, but it was about tanks. And they were talking about how they had to call so many times for resupply of ammunition. They thought they were either shooting their ammunition, like just horse piping it off into the air somewhere, or it's like, there's no way you guys are fucking... It's like, yeah, they're just sitting there. They're not doing anything. These things are like Martian war machines coming through. It's like nothing can stop their progress. And but that's when they figured out like the T-80 tank that was always the great fear. It's like, oh, that's just a good way to kill 3 people. Okay. Done and done. Then the one they came up with after that was even worse. Because the Russians went to a turbine-powered tank. The T-90, I think. Let me see if I'm getting this right. Because I remember I read...
Oh. I don't know any new developments on tank. I know the British made a new tank that's like all super futuristic and everything, but that was the only new thing on tank development I know about.
Yeah, the T-90 MBT. I suppose that means main battle tank.
Yeah.
It looks big and scary. Oh no, they did have diesel. One of them they tried to go to the rotary, the turbine engine that ours had.
Yeah.
But they made it a diesel instead. And in the Battle of Chechnya, they got really. I think the T-90s got taken out of service because of Chechnya. Because the guys just had everyone in the third world has an unlimited supply of RPG-7s.
Yeah.
It's just like, so I think they sent tanks in without any troop support. They're like, well, this will just scare the shit out of them, and they lost a bunch of tanks.
Yeah.
Which are expensive.
Yeah.
But that's I know they're trying to fly their were they trying to fly over Alaska again?
Are they?
Yeah, the Russians are trying to start their Bear bomber patrols again. Like, oh, you mean the one you had from the 60s? Okay, yeah, go ahead with that. Won't be able to stop that.
We long for the days of old communism.
Yeah. That's crazy. Oh, the Challenger 2 British main battle tank. That's the new one. Just looks like a tank.
Oh, it does? Oh. I thought it had like weird angles to it and it was kind of like flatter or something.
Oh, that's those, yeah, the Polish have one of those. It's like a future-looking tank.
Yeah.
Like, it looks like it has like, oh, that must shoot a railgun, That's futuristic, but it's mostly like polycarbonate, and it's like, this is still a prototype.
Oh, okay.
We can't make ceramically impermeated steel that bends and flows like that. We can make it flat, but yeah, they're always trying that future tank. What's our future tank going to be? Just a drone? It's like, that's an impressive tank you have there, and it can definitely destroy our Abrams. However, we have these new things. See these 500 tanks here? Those are all drones.
It'll just be something that's like really fast and low to the ground, and it'll just attach mines to tanks.
Yeah, it's just those DARPA dogs come jumping over the hill. It's like, you're going to fight all these things now. Have, like, axial machine guns on them. Some of them rockets. Some of them just strapped with bombs, and they just crawl underneath the tank.
And they have like the back has like a shaped explosion underneath it, so it blows up, but it's totally fine because all the explosion goes upwards.
Yeah. Let's see if I can get this right. I don't know what plane they were flying. I know they've been flying over Cuba for a while. I don't know. Yeah, they're using those Tupolovs. Yeah, they're using the old Bear bombers. Okay. I was right.
Are those the ones with like the double?
The double props.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
They are actually badass, but the problem is they're so loud, submarines can hear them.
Yeah.
Like, they're incredibly loud.
Yeah, I hear like that. Because like that thing was like, it's almost like 50 years old, but it's like an almost perfect engine design.
Yeah. It's perfectly balanced and perfectly, yeah, they do a lot of things.
Because like that's the reason they keep them around is it's just like it's the maintenance on it is really easy compared to most engines, and they get like better gas mileage and can go a lot longer distance for what you're paying. So something like that.
Well, we still have the Stratofortress. I mean, that's we never got rid of that. But we have in the meantime developed things like the B1, the B2, and the Russians have something called the Blackjack, but I don't know. That's like a B1. I've never heard anything about it.
That was the swing wing bomber.
Yeah.
It's just, that's just a big waste of money.
Yeah, it's a B1. Yeah. Because the B1 was a swing wing too.
Yeah.
Of course, I've actually seen videos of the like amazing B, because they never talked about the B1 a lot because they ran into huge cost overruns and it was kind of a black sheep. But they like showed them like they were doing close ground support and shit like that. Like however they can target things from those things, like it's pretty impressive. Like they can send a Tomahawk missile. You can throw a nickel on the ground and that thing will put that Tomahawk missile right on top of it. It's like, holy shit.
Oh, that's like, I mean, reading a lot of stuff about that. Like those ultimately those planes were just kind of useless because the maintenance required to use it was like way too much. And it's like you can make a much more effective and inexpensive plane to do the same job.
Yeah.
That was like the one idea the one guy had was like, it was like you basically take the Gatling gun from a Warthog, you design the plane to be more nimble and smaller, because like one thing with the Warthog is they wanted to throw a bunch of missiles on it, so they made the wing really you and wide, and they didn't necessarily need to do that. So he wanted to make just this really small plane with the cannon on it, and then you make those for like under like $1 million or $2 million a piece, and you just deploy them in mass.
Yeah.
It's like they'd just be unstoppable.
Unleash the swarm. Well, speaking of which, we went to the Yankee Air Museum today.
Oh yeah, I saw some pictures.
Me and Grayson and Stacy. We had a good time. They have a lot of parts of World War II bombers, mainly B-17s, B-25s, and they had the ball turret set up on the floor. I mean, you couldn't get in it, of course. It's beyond antiquity almost, but it was like they were talking about the size. We had a nice tour guide. You got like our own guy that tells you about everything. Grayson is at the top limit of what the size and height of a ball turret gunner. He would be big for a ball turret gunner because it's like under 5'6", under 150 pounds. And you look inside this module. It's just like these two. I think they're 50 caliber guns.
Yeah. But
they're in this ball turret, and here's the action, like right here. Right by your head.
Yeah.
You're just swinging around, and the guy said it was minus 30 sometimes at their operating altitude, but the ball turret gunner, it could literally be 120 degrees in there in a matter of seconds because of those guns just railing off next to your head. And I was like, that's insane. And I was looking at
you're the biggest.
Hmm.
And you're the target.
Yeah, and you are the target. Because you're slinging like these, fully automatic 50 caliber guns, and everyone's seeing that. And it was a surprisingly sophisticated, because I got real close to it, because it has these 2 DC drive motors that spun it. One spun it left to right, one spun it up and down. Real sophisticated, like gimbaling shit in there. And I was like, man, that must have broke constantly when that got shot. He's like, oh yeah, all the time. That's when I had the horror stories about the belly gunners, where the gimbal, because that thing had to turn a certain way and point the guns down so you could get out of the belly.
Yeah.
Because the hatch was on the back. Now the top gunner, not so much. But they, if you blew your landing gear or whatever, and the guy was in the ball turret, and he got stuck in there, you're going to have to land without gear. Well, he's going to get crushed. And there was more than one occasion where they were handing that guy a 45. Like, well, good luck, Bob. See you in the next life. But yeah, that was pretty astounding. And just they had mock-ups, because they made a lot of those out at Willow Run, a lot of those bombers, and they had these mock-ups of ones that weren't complete, and it's like, wow, people worked in this, just building them. They were talking about the people building them. Just a lot of sharp aluminum and rivets, and you're jumping in and out of that thing and pounding thousands of rivets into it, and it's like, boy, the ocean would have had a fit. It's like, there's no...
Good thing war's on.
Yeah. Well, it was all real narrow spaces, and I was like, is that the completed thing? He goes, yeah, except for floorboards and some oxygen bottles they'd mounted. That was the completed interior, because it's just raw metal.
Yeah.
There was no... And then, of course, you realize how quickly, like, bullets would... I mean, I could take my 45 and fire through both sides of that fucking thing. And that's a handgun round. Now, imagine, like a Focke-Wulf or one of those things just beating away at it with whatever they had. It's amazing anyone came home. It's just...
Yeah, wasn't like your life expectancy as a bomber was like something was like you had like a 50-50 shot?
Yeah, you got to have about a 50-50 shot.
Like it was
well, ours was bad because we in terms of dollars, daylight bombing was too inefficient, or nighttime bombing was too inefficient.
Yeah.
We're doing it during the day, and we're just going to unleash swarms of bombers, and that got really ugly in a hurry. It really reached its apex in Japan, though, where they didn't have as good an anti-aircraft. Like the Germans, like they had an industrial war machine and planes and AAA, radar-guided AAA. The Japanese, it was a little different. They were a little less defended. That's why it was like, can we drop napalm on every square inch of Tokyo? We're going to see. Let's see what happens.
We'll see when we get there.
But they had all these planes and, a lot of vintage, World War II, and they had an F-4 Phantom. Those are impressive close up. It's like, god damn, it's all engine. It's just a giant set of engines.
Yeah.
There's nothing else to this plane. Really small cockpit, really small stubby wings.
Yeah, that's the
Vulcan cannon in the front, and
oh, did they have the cannon on that? Oh yeah, wait, no. Did they have a cannon?
The guy said, well, that was a multi-service aircraft because the Air Force had a version. The Marines had a version, and the Navy had a version, and they each had different requirements. But they did start putting they used to have gun pods. Yeah. Then they just put the gun in the front because it was easier to deal with, I guess, better to shoot.
Yeah, because I was reading the Boyd book, and that was like the first plane where like they totally were like the military-industrial complex got in there, and like missiles are the future. Like we're gonna put missiles and everything. So like it was. At first, it was just nothing but missiles, and they couldn't shoot anybody down because they couldn't turn fast enough to fire. And if the enemy was turning fast enough, then they couldn't acquire like the certain right to actually fire the missile. So, and that thing couldn't turn worth a shit. It could go really fast in a straight fucking line, but it couldn't turn.
It was like an old hot rod. It wasn't because the MiGs were like little Porsches, like they could just flit out of its turning radius. Yeah. We didn't want to get in front of a Phantom because it just hit the afterburner and run right over you. But yeah, if it just could outturn you. That's what the F-16 came along and did. But
yeah, they had to get like
were huge on that thing.
Oh yeah. It was not. That was like overcompensating for a lack of design.
Well, the guy was funny. The guy who was giving us the tour said, "Yeah, the Air Force, their version of it, they had a tactical weapons officer in the rear. He did all the missiles, and he could actually fly the plane too if he had to. The Navy version, they had a I forget what he was a like a radar guy. He would manage look for intercepts and incoming stuff, and he could fly the plane too. The Marine version, they just had a gib, and he had no control surfaces, and there are no controls in the back. I said, "What's a gib?" He goes, "Guy in back." They didn't really want the plane, but they kind of had to take it. But they didn't want to have the expense of having an extra weapons guy or an extra control surface, so they just made the guy in the back what they called a gib. It's like, what did he do? Just looked for shit like, oh, a missile. Turn right. It's like, that's ridiculous. It was, well, they didn't want the plane, so they got it shoved up their ass, so they cut as much cost as they could by just not having that whole rear thing.
Because I think they were still using World War II planes, or I think the Corsair, to provide close air fire support or something like that. Because that was still like one of the best planes to provide that at the time. Because it had a gun in it. Because you can't fire a missile at ground troops necessarily.
You can, but you might kill your own people.
Yeah,
especially if it's like a Sidewinder or something, not really designed for that. But yeah, man, that was I was like, come back here, because you could stand right behind us. Like, come back here and look at these engines. They had the tail hook for the Navy, because they all came with a tail hook, even all of them, because they just built them universally. And the Air Force was like, what the fuck is this? Besides extra weight, but there was something about you couldn't take them off because it was integrated with the hydraulic system of the plane, and like if you took it off and if you sealed up the hydraulics, like they could pop off. I don't know. It sounds like one of those like, this is a terrible idea. It's really cool in one aspect, but and what they say, like this guy was talking about what else did they use? I think this guy was in Vietnam era, but he was saying like they tried to keep these on the ground as much as possible because they use so much fucking fuel.
Yeah.
They would just like run through fuel. I mean, it's like, go up, fly around, okay, land, go up, fly. Because you could dump all your fuel through the afterburner in like 7 minutes, or it was something. I mean, it could go Mach 2.2. It could virtually outrun anything. But it was he was saying, yeah, they really tried to keep these on the ground a lot. As he said, the Michigan National Guard had them through the 90s, and it's like they brought them out, they cleaned them up, they took them apart, they repaired them, and they pushed them right back in because they just used way too much fuel. If you wanted an interceptor, they were really good for that, but you had to be guided in because like if there were bombers coming into the U.S., that was an awesome interceptor.
Yeah,
but it wasn't good for much else. Well, the Russians had they had some. They went down those rabbit holes too because they had that the Foxbat, which actually scared everyone so bad. I don't know if you remember the movie Firefox.
Yeah,
that was actually what we thought at that time the Foxbat was. It's like, oh, it's this super air superiority fighter because it could go as fast as a SR-71. It didn't have the climb rate, it didn't have the altitude, but just in raw acceleration, it could go as fast. Because what they did was instead of making the whole plane out of titanium, they just made the surfaces where the air would strike it out of titanium. But it was really, they thought it had the speed of an SR-71, but the nimbleness of like an F-16. Like that's really what the Firefox was supposed to be in the movie. But it turned out it's like it was just a high speed. It was basically a missile with a man inside it, and it was designed to intercept the B-1s because the B-1s could go really fast. Yeah. And the Russians always feared air penetration. But they found out that like it had no turning ability. It used huge amounts of fuel. Well, the guy flew one into Japan and defected.
Yeah.
And they took it apart down to the smallest molecule, and they're like, "Well, this isn't really. It's impressive if you're nuts." What they really liked about it though is it used old tube radar, and the reason was I guess you can put unlimited amplification. So if it was using its radar, it had a search radar. But they could put amplifiers on it to where if like a missile tried to radar lock, it could blind the missile. But it was like you run the risk of giving the pilots cancer. You have a microwave in the cockpit with you, but they were looking at that like, what the fuck are they doing? Why does this have 100,000 watt linear amp on it? Are these what are the Russians trying to do? But they thought they could. They thought it was a cheaper than chaff. Like, oh, if you get a missile lock, you just aim this at it and turn it on, and it'll fry the missile. But then they figured out, oh, we just changed the frequency on our missile, and then it won't affect it at all. We'll microwave the pilot's balls. Yeah, that was. It's funny the things they used to be afraid of in the 80s. I think that was the plane where didn't you say they mailed it back to the Russians, like a screw at a time? It's like, yeah, here's your MiG. We want it back. It's coming. It's just one piece at a time. Yeah, that's why that whole movie was nothing but propaganda for the Reagan war machine.
Yeah.
Like, the Russians have this. We must develop a defense against this. It's like, no, the Russians don't have that, but we probably have something like that, but they don't.
We can make that cool shit happen. It just can't happen for long periods of time.
Yeah. We can do amazing shit as long as there's no rain, atmospheric ionization, which only occurs when you go over 200 miles an hour. What else is it? Oh, we can only build so many of these planes before the workers die at the Lockheed plant from weird cancer. So, yeah, those are our limitations.
Apparently, Lockheed's on they're 10 years away from making a fusion reactor.
Good.
So that's
That'll be fun for everyone.
That'll be the future.
Just imagine if America had energy independence. Imagine a world where we didn't need oil.
Be so great.
Well, we could be at our World War II status again, where we have 60% of the world's wealth instead of just 30%. Think of all the organizations that would collapse. What would the Middle East become? Would it all quick? We've got to be like Dubai, like everyone build towers and.
I think there would be an immediate war as they decide of. We're
one last throw of the dice.
Yeah, because they're gonna be immediately obsolete because there is fucking nothing there but oil. We have no other reason to be that there's nothing there but oil. Like imagine
kebabs.
Imagine before we found oil was there. Like how much we did not give a fuck about that place.
Except we just kind of generically the British are like, it's the Ottoman Empire now. Good luck, guys. Oh man. Yeah, that would be a great day for America. I guess, I don't know. Or terrible. Yeah, if we had energy independence. Well, then we get into World War II shit again though, because nations would not be as interdependent. And they'd become really isolationist and have these real weird economies, and it's like going to another country would be it's like nobody does that. What are you doing?
Oh, quaint! Look what you have here in your backwards world.
We should just give it to everyone universally. Here's your fusion reactor.
Well, I'm pretty sure, if Lockheed gets it to work, or if it's working in testing phases, that. Someone else is working on one too. We need our version. We need to get in on this. It's just weird that Lockheed's making it, because I wouldn't necessarily think of them as hey, we're the power people.
Well, power companies certainly aren't going to make it. They have a vested interest in everything staying exactly the same. We are the status quo guys. So yeah, that might. Who knows? Who knows what they're making it for though? Is it just for submarines? Is it just for aircraft carriers? Is what are they?
I don't know, because
things that has no application in the civilian world.
Yeah, because I just they make airplanes. I don't know what else they do. I don't know why they're making it. They just have hire some young engineer who just suddenly had a thought popped in his mind. He's oh, this can work now. It's we're spending the next 10 years on this, guys.
I want to know how that's going to work. Explain to me how you harness the power of the sun. Then we could have those insanely compact and potent energy systems like in Star Wars. Put a battery pack in and you're good for 100 laser blasts. Or you can have a beam, an energy wand, a lightsaber just that cuts through anything it touches. And it's you can power this for hours, not just minutes. Or seconds.
You can now
power that video on YouTube. It's the real laser gun, and they got the big chunk of steel. And it's 3, 2, 1, and it just burns through it in seconds. And it's that's awesome. And then you see it's attached to a semi truck. It's that's what it takes to do that. And it's also 5 feet from it. So it's we're bad motherfuckers if the enemy stands still and 5 feet in front of us.
Well, I think that the what they wanted to use that for was to shoot down ICBMs as they were being launched. Like,
Yeah.
a big hole on them, and then they just blow up in the midair.
Yep, that's But you can destroy an ICB. You can destroy a Russian SS-18 with a 50 caliber rifle. I mean, you can't do it in the air unless you're a bad motherfucker. You can. There was this. Oh, where did I find this manual? But because the Russians, they always had those mobile launchers.
Yeah.
Their big thing, and they thought that was their ace in the hole, because it's like, well, the Americans will never know where this is. It's like, oh yeah, that's subtle. It's it's like a 100-foot-long semi truck that gets like uses 4 gallons for fuel to move a mile. It's like, yeah, we'll never track that down. But so they had these plans. They were going to send in these like NATO Tiger teams, and they figured out exactly where to shoot the missile to disable it with a 50 caliber rifle. And I don't know if it ever worked, but it probably will. 50 caliber rifle. A missile is a sensitive thing, so
Yeah. It's only rocket science.
yeah. Only takes geniuses to design it. Imagine that perfect symmetry of genius. We have one guy to design the rocket, one guy to design the warhead. Oh, fuck that. Let's put 3 or 4 different warheads in. So one missile can now target 4 or 5 different targets at the same time. It's like, and we can't cure cancer? Really? Okay. Well, I mean, we probably could. It's like Adam Carolla says, we owe the Russians a lot more hate than we pretend to. If it wasn't for the Cold War, we'd have trains that could go from New York to Los Angeles in 30 seconds and stuff like that. We spent all our money on air bases and bullshit and invisible bombers and submarines and... Submarines quieter than flatulence, and oh, that's hilarious. Uh-oh. That's our 1-hour recording warning. So we gotta turn off the recorders and turn them right back on. Are you ready?
Hold on, I have to do things.
Oh, you need to get a digital recorder.
I'm paused. Now I'm about to open a new file. Well, I'll do that. Nope.
Hang on, everyone, it gets better.
It's like just like the gays. It gets better.
Oh yeah, I forgot. I wasn't even thinking of that.
I am recording.
All right, I'm recording too. And we're back.
We're back.
Yay, like we never left. I remember we used to take them little breaks, them little 20-minute breaks, go smoke them cigarettes. Damn, I miss them days.
I go eat whatever was around.
Whatever hove into view.
Yeah, just, hey, there's bread and butter. That's awesome.
Okay, and we're back. Go ahead and say it. We're back.
We're back.
Yeah. I remember them days. No, I'm not going to do that again.
Yeah, let's repeat that. It's on. You can catch it on YouTube.
Catch it on YouTube. I got to remember to press my button twice. That's what I'm doing wrong.
Oh, okay.
Because it's once to stop, twice to restart on a different file. It's only once to restart on the same file. But
oh, okay.
God forbid my computer could, crunch a 2-hour sound file. Whoa, the technology. iWatch. Have you seen this yet?
I've seen commercials.
I got sent something in my email about it. Nathan, we know you're a sucker for overpriced things.
I see that there's no price attached to it, so I imagine it's outrageous.
There is a price attached to it. Well, number one, I don't have a iPhone because they weren't on sale for 99 cents today. I went looking for smartphones. And because I think they're a little overpriced either way. I mean, if I was going to pay $200 for what I got or what an iPhone, I'd have probably got an iPhone, but that wasn't even in the offing. But let me get to the, if I was looking at an iWatch, which it looks kind of cool, I don't know what I'd do with it, but I do kind of like to collect watches.
Yeah.
So I would, let me explore here. So I would consider one just for the novelty of it. However, The one I liked was, and this is just the midnight. It's not the sport model. I don't need a watch to tell me my heart rate. I know it's probably pretty bad, but where was the one I was looking at? I was like, that looks interesting. I would consider that someday, maybe. Come on. Yep, $599. There's no fucking way. There's no way in life I need that.
I mean, there are more expensive watches, so compared to high-end watches, that's not actually that bad. But for you don't need that.
A piece of technology that you're going to be replacing in 3 years, that's not a good price.
For something that is basically more of a kish item that is more obsolete than a phone you can already buy for the same price, that doesn't seem worth it.
Yeah.
And I think that you use this thing like in conjunction with your iPhone, right?
You have to have an iPhone. You can't use this with anything else.
Yeah, so yeah, it's fucking pointless.
Yeah, it's
I mean, if you're willing to spend $1,200 on a set of stuff so you can keep in constant communication, like, good on you.
Yeah, well, that's the thing with me. Like, it has to have a use. Believe me, I'm not completely opposed to spending money. I don't have a lot, but if I wanted to spend money on something, it's like, oh, this completes me. I would definitely, I
mean, it would be neat as hell, but it would be almost useless within the first week.
Yeah, I just can't see that. I don't work in an office. I don't have friends. It's like, oh, make my wrist buzz. Bzz, no, I don't have those kind of friends. I'm married. Been married for 20 years. So,
I mean, I do like the idea that you can like kind of customize like the dashboard on your watch, so like it'll send information to you, and all you need to do is glance at your wrist. That's nice, but not necessary.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely understand. I can definitely see it, but I just can't. Not for that kind of money. Not for something that's going to be replaced.
I can see the appeal, but it's just not. Yeah, just not worth it.
The most expensive watch I have, one that I love that Stacy got for me years ago, that I still love to wear, is a Tissot L'Horloge 1853. And Tissot is the Swiss watch company that they have the sweep of the hand where it has almost no catch in it. It's like, that's really cool. That was $546 8 years ago. But that's a cool watch.
Yeah.
It's called the 1853 because that's when it was designed. It's a self-winder. So it's like, that is timeless classic, and it's cool because I like watches.
It'll survive the apocalypse.
Yep. That's the most, a lot of people don't know that Tissot is the subcontractor to Rolex for their movements. So. But that is, I could give that to Grayson. He could lose it quickly. Or keep it maybe and give it to his son or grandson or whoever. So it's like, yeah, I could see that, but that iWatch is going to be outdated in 3 years.
Yep.
It's like, yours doesn't have the live porn feed. That sucks. So
now the porn's directly on my wrist, so I can just beat off in one direction.
Yeah, it's like it's handy that way. Hey, look, I can see her. I can see the girl I'm never gonna have sex with. Oh. New comedian recommend this week. I want to point everyone to the comic stylings of Hannibal Buress. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's on the Eric Andre show.
Yes. Yeah, I've seen him.
He has, I like his delivery and his style. I'd say it's similar to, it's kind of Mitch Hedberg-y.
Yeah.
Yes, if you like that kind of comedy. He had a great line where he was talking about moving to New York, and because he's from Chicago, and he's something like, yeah, the homeless people always hit me up in Chicago, and I always make them do something for it. So when I came to New York, I did the same shit. It's like, hey, can you help a brother out? Give me a few dollars. Yeah, sure, but I need you to do something for me. Hands him a picture, and he's like, I need you to kill that guy. And the homeless guy looks at it, and he's like, that's a picture of me. And he's like, I know, it gets weird out here, man. It's weird. It's like, he has this kind of clever, almost, I don't know, borderline autistic delivery I really enjoy. And he does weird things on the Eric Andre show, too. So I don't know if you ever watched that or not.
No, I'm familiar with him somewhat. I think he was on Don't Trust the Bitch in Apartment 23.
Yeah, he's crazy. His show's even weirder. But yeah, Hannibal Buress he's a great straight man on that show. But they do really weird shit. So like they had the pick a hot girl case. It was like the show. Remember when they have the suitcase full of money and you had to figure out who it was?
Yeah.
Well, they had like 3 hot girls, and it's like, pick a number, and the lady picked it, and the 3 girls pulled out guns and shot each other. Hannibal Buress was like looking to the air like, ah! And then they just like cut to some other scene. It's like, that is so fucking crazy. I love that. But so then I started listening to his comedy albums and on iTunes. I was like, oh, this guy's fucking funny. I've heard he's been on Joe Rogan a few times too. So, but he's a if you like that low key comedy, he's the guy.
I can counter-recommend another comedian.
Okay, who's that?
Michael Palinsak.
Michael Palinsak. Why does that sound familiar?
Because he's from Wabash, Indiana.
Really?
Yeah, he was in Keegan's school class.
Oh, I'm trying to find his. How do you spell that last name?
It's like Palin, like P-A-L-A-N, and then like I think it's like S-C-A-K or something like that. He has his first comedy album he just came out with it like I think it was like 6 months ago or something like that. I was listening to one of the Chick McGee podcasts and he was on there.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
His comedy's like, I don't know if you ever heard Tommy Johnigan. He's one of my favorite comedians. He's a lot like him. He actually hangs out with him, so it makes sense.
Oh, okay.
So yeah. It was pretty good. Yeah, I think. What's the name of the album? It's like Job Offering or something like that, or Position Available or something. I can't remember.
Oh, does Keegan know him or?
Yeah, he was in her class. So.
Huh. Well, that's cool.
It's called Job Opening is the name of it.
Oh, he's based out of Los Angeles, so he left Wabash, huh?
Yep.
Surprised there's not a Wabash-based comedian.
He goes back to Indiana to do like the Bob and Tom show and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
He does some acting roles too, like every comedian trying to make it. So.
It's a rough life.
But yeah, the album's pretty good. There's like some fun stuff. There's like something he's talking about like. He was like staying at a bed and breakfast, and like the room he was staying in like just had like a crib in it, like just an empty crib, and he's like, "No, I'm not staying in the room with the ghost baby. Like I don't even know how to take care of a regular baby, let alone a ghost baby."
Ghost baby. Yeah, I'll have to check him out.
Yeah, I was just reminded of that real quick. For throw some local flavor in there.
Yeah.
From our old haunts, Wabash, Indiana.
Wabash, Indiana. Really sad what happened to that city. I mean, predictable, but sad.
Yeah.
I mean, fuck, it's sad what happened to the whole Midwest. Let's be honest here. Everything's kind of circling the drain. Even in like fancy places like Detroit. Things aren't going too well.
Oh yeah, I saw RoboCop, the new one.
Oh, did you watch that?
Yeah.
How's that treating you?
It's all right.
I mean, if no one had heard of it before, if there wasn't a previous movie out there, it'd have been pretty good.
I wouldn't say it's terrible, but it's definitely doing something different. It's not trying to be the original RoboCop. So
yeah, see, the original RoboCop was just an homage to violence. That's what I liked about it. Just over the top insanity.
Well, it was a crazy '80s movie, action movie, but it also had what was great about it was just like the subtle, what do you call that? Like
social commentary.
Yeah, the subtle social commentary. Well, and not so subtle social commentary that they have. And that was amazing. That's where like RoboCop transcends being like this stupid '80s action movie and like, oh no, there's shit there. It's like
there's something there.
This is amazing. This one, it's like, it's just like we're gonna have this commentary about drones, and that's what RoboCop became.
Yeah.
And it's a PG-13 movie, so it's kind of disappointing that way. Although there's a scene in the movie that is way more fucked up than almost everything in RoboCop, and it's a PG-13 movie. You want me to tell you about it?
I've already seen it, so.
When they show him like, hey, what's left, and they just like take everything off, and it's just like
Just
a hand
lungs.
and hand and the lungs.
Yeah, that was a little fucked up.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's fucked up. And his hand is like just the hand, like it doesn't have the arm with it too. It's just they kept the hand alive. But yeah, and then like the weird stuff with Samuel L. Jackson. Like being
He's
like
the right-wing Fox News.
Yeah.
Get this motherfucker off my station or something like that. At the end, yeah.
So yeah, it's it's interesting in its take on it, but definitely not better than the original one, but also not trying to be it. So it gets a pass. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, Detroit doesn't really seem to show up in that movie. It's just like, hey, we invented robots and now we're doing really well, so Detroit's fine. Whereas it like
Detroit's great.
Yeah, whereas like Detroit and the original RoboCop is like, hey, there's all these rich people just walking around like nothing's happening while there's a war zone going on downstairs.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing about like the stuff with Detroit was it was very prophetic. Because in RoboCop, the original one, the city was going bankrupt, which the city already did. Only it was looking for corporate sponsors to bail it out then. But unfortunately, in the real world of Detroit, most of the corporations are bankrupt too, at least the ones around here. So there was no, there was no Omni Consumer. Because all they did was CG the Omni Consumer Products building over the Fisher building, because it was right next to the GM World headquarters.
Well, at least they did it. I think they actually did shoot in Detroit there, right? Because like the first one,
Canada.
Oh, Canada. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No.
Can't shoot in Detroit. It's too expensive. Because our dear Republicans took away all the film credits because they wanted to give the money to places to start sweatshops to hire illegal immigrants. It's like, that's going to bring the economy of the state back.
But yeah, the first one they shot it in Dallas because they thought that looked more like a futuristic city.
Yeah.
But actually served to look more like Detroit in some weird way.
Yeah. Detroit is kind of a cool-looking city from a certain angle.
Yeah.
There's one of those. It has one of those cities that's like there's possibility here, but not really.
What else? I played Hotline Miami 2.
Yeah, what was that all about?
Have you ever heard of it before?
No.
It's kind of a...
Not the one that's like a weird action thing.
Well, it looks like a Super Nintendo game. Like like a top-down shooter.
That's what I was thinking, like Contra or something.
Yeah, and it's it's super violent. At least it's not. It's just cartoonishly animated. It's like pixel animation. So, but they managed to get the suffering across, which so it's really violent that way. And it was the first Hotline Miami was basically a love song to Drive in David Lynch movies.
Okay, yeah, I think you remember you told me about this. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's a great. I mean, it's almost a combat puzzle. Because the thing in the game's really hard. Because if you ever like fire a gun, it just alerts all the enemies, and like you die really quickly. So you have to like find ways to use like the environment. Like if you hit a door and somebody's like behind a door and you knock it open, you knock them down, and so you have to use that. And you want to kill people with weapons that aren't guns because then it doesn't alert the other people.
Oh, okay.
But like one thing is what put together is it had an amazing soundtrack. This just really 80s, new wave soundtrack to it that was just made the game. It was just like this perfectly synced up with the action and everything's going on, and a fucking weird story. Like it's a story that if you went through and played it, you wouldn't think there was a story there, but there is one, and like you have to go and find it, and like a lot of And like, because like it starts out like there's this, it's like this. The screen starts off, the opening screen where like the start screen has like neon Cyrillic letters like kind of like phasing in and out and doing this weird like trippy thing, and it's playing like this trippy Hawaiian music, and like what the fuck is going on here? And then the plot of the game is like you're a guy who's clearly hallucinating things, and you get a phone call and it tells you to kill all these people, and then you go and do that. You put on a mask and you go and do that.
Yeah, as you would.
Yeah. And it turns out the people you're killing are actually like Russian mobsters, so it's like you're not necessarily doing a bad thing necessarily.
Kind of a vigilante thing, maybe.
Yeah, and like at some point you save some girl who's being like sexually abused and being drugged. You save her from the Russian mob, which comes into play in this one, because like in Hotline Miami 2, it takes place in different times periods, but it starts off you're playing through the movie version of what they perceive the events to be, and so in the movie version you're just like this like monster who just goes around and kills people wearing a pig mask, and then like they have him like rape the girl, like not save her. And it's like, and then I was supposed to like point out like, you know, like the people's perception of the events and things like that, and then you go back in time to where you're fighting the Russians in Hawaii, and you're like, what the fuck is going on?
So
yeah,
more of the weirdness, more of the enchanting weirdness from the first game.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's you play as a lot of different. The first one you just played as one character. I actually played as two characters, but one was like you play as the second character after the credits, and then that led to more storyline. And then like the real truth that was going on, you had to like find weird dots in every level, and then that would lead you to like to another story bit that shows you these people are like tapping all the phone lines and creating this conspiracy, and like they were so the guy wasn't necessarily hallucinating the phone calls, but he was hallucinating, but they just knew how to like trigger him in a way to get him to go murder a bunch of Russian mobsters.
Sounds like that movie Telephone from the 80s. Secret programming.
And Hotline Miami 2, you play as a bunch of different characters. You play as like some white supremacist guy who's working for some organization, but you don't really know about it. You play like the bearded guy from the original Hotline Miami, but this is in the like the earliest timeline when you're fighting Russians in Hawaii. And then you play as the Fans, which is after the events of Hotline Miami, and you're just a group of people who thought what the guy was doing was like to be a vigilante was a cool thing, and so you're just keeping on the tradition. And so you play as, that's a group of 4 different people, and they have like 4 different play styles. Like there's one guy, all he does is punches, but all his punches kill immediately. But he can't pick up weapons or anything. One guy has a dodge roll. Another guy he starts with 2 submachine guns, and you can like spread them out and like, you know, shoot them like across the whole room and like spin around or whatever. Which that's kind of cool, but then he runs out of ammo, and then you're just like, well, now you're just playing the game again.
Oh, okay.
Then there's one interesting duo. You pick them and you play as 2 characters. One has a chainsaw and the other one has a handgun. And it's kind of interesting to play that way, but it's kind of becomes more of a hassle. But it's kind of an interesting detour. And then the soundtrack is again pretty amazing. I wouldn't say as good as the first one, but like so much of the soundtrack in the first one was unexpected. So,
yeah.
I heard Alex Navarro, he played it, and he said that this soundtrack is better than the first one, but only because a lot of the songs this time around are actually like kind of meant to be songs, so it's not like this like cool loop playing around over and over again. So I can kind of see like, yeah, I see where he's coming from. Like it is better in that way.
Yeah.
But this is the end of the storyline for Hotline Miami.
Oh no!
As at the end of the game, some guy on the radio talks about how the President of the United States is killed and the Russian premier is killed, and then the Russians nuke the world, and then everything's done.
Well, that's a sensible. you first described these games to me, I always thought this was like, oh, they're trying to make what shooters, 80s shooters would be like if they had
It's basically if Michael Mann made video games instead of movies. That's what
in
this
the
game
80s.
is.
Yeah. It's a good idea.
I mean, they're hard games, but they're just the atmosphere and all that stuff to it is like really cool. And
Yeah.
like a lot of the story I've told you, like it's kind of stuff I've read online. It's like, okay, now that makes sense now. So like, very implicit story. Like you have to like dig into it and make it of it your own. So, but
Yeah.
I really liked it.
That's good. I like interesting, kitschy stuff like that.
And then
What
the
was
other
that
game,
you mentioned?
Talos Principle.
Yeah, I've never heard of that. What is that?
It's kind of like it's like a first-person puzzle game, so kind of like Portal, but you're not using portal guns. You're using other devices.
Oh, no gravity gun.
No,
Or no, yeah,
portal gun.
portal gun.
Um,
I love that game, especially Portal 2. What a
Yeah.
fun game.
it's great games. This kind of scratches the same itch where it's like you feel like an idiot till you figure something out. Now then you feel like a genius.
Yeah, I'm a god of this.
There's a lot of that same thing. Yeah. And it's from your and my favorite Croatian video game team, Crow Team.
Ah, Crow Team. I'm glad they're back.
They made
Serious Sam and
Yep. That's about it, but
I thought didn't they do Black?
no, that
Or
was
was that a different group? Okay, it
that was who was that? God damn it.
was a fun game. It was idiotic, but it was fun.
I can't remember who did Black. There was like middleware people. They made like the codec for like encoding videos into video games.
Okay.
I can't remember the name of the team. But yeah, that's who did that. They did like the original Burnout games.
That's right.
I can't think of the name. Oh, well, it doesn't matter. So you play as a robot, and then there's like a booming voice of God that talks to you, and then there's like these computer terminals. And there's like somebody trying to talk to you, trying to ascertain whether you are an individual or not. So it's a lot of that, like who's in control here? Do you have free will? And kind of stuff like that. While you're just playing a puzzle game.
Yeah.
And you can find just weird stuff in the environment. I found like a glitch in the ground. I fell through the ground, and then there's just this room that's shaking, like a tornado's going on, and it's full of light. And then God's like just repeating these words over and over again. It's like, well, this is weird. There's one room I found where there's just a guy behind a businessman behind a glass, sitting at his desk playing with money. He goes, "Wow, look at all the money!" Just over and over again.
Oh god, that sounds almost perfect.
The puzzle game. I don't know how to describe it. You kind of just move about this environment. You have these things called jammers, which they will stop anything that functions. It'll stop it functioning. That's what it does. So you just kind of point it at something. So there's turrets in the game, so you just point it at that, and it'll stop a turret from functioning. But you only get like that one jammer just has to sit there. You can't move with it. So you have to like set these things up so that you can get through the puzzle. And then there's another thing where you have to like reroute power. So it's like this stand with a crystal on it, and you'll have to like find the power node and then reroute it to the power across the way. Then you get a box. It's like your third power is you just get a fucking box. and then you'll use that to put as like a pressure switch. You'll like leave that on things. You'll use it to climb some things. And then later on you'll have to use it in combination with the other item, because the other thing is a fan. You can turn a fan on. Like you can't carry the fan with you, but there's certain places where there's a fan, and then you can use that to like
Turn that on.
turn it on. You can like it'll like raise you up so you can reach higher platforms, or you can put the box on it, or you can put the crystal thing on the box on top of that, and then you can raise it above the level because there's always something blocking these power nodes. So you have to do a lot of that stuff. And then I think the fifth power you have is you can hold a piece of glass above your head. Which doesn't make much sense, but there's another power you get where you can record a version of yourself.
I have that power. I can hold a piece of glass above my head.
Well, I think the fourth power you get is you record a version of yourself, and you can, if you have the glass thing, you record a version of yourself doing stuff with the glass, and then you can like jump on top of the glass, and then have your former version of yourself like carry you around to specific points.
Oh, okay.
So really starts to engage your brain at some point. It's like all right, now I need to think in the future and in the past, and I need to keep all this shit in mind. It's a really cool game.
Sounds pretty cool.
I think it's only for the PC though. So.
Yeah, well, like I said, I don't get much video game time anymore.
Yeah.
I need to make time though. Trust me, the focuses are piling up at the abandoned Ford plant, so there's going to be plenty of time off coming for me to play video games again. When I see the focuses piling up, it's like, oh yeah, here we go again. That effective plan. Build as many as we can.
I also saw Frank.
The guy with the head?
Yeah.
What'd you think?
Yeah,
I like
movie.
John Ronson, so I wanted to give that one a chance. I just haven't had a chance to see it yet.
I mean, it's as you expected. It's weird.
Yeah, well, I could tell by the preview.
But what you do not expect is that movie is almost not about Frank.
Oh, really?
I mean, it is, but it isn't. Like, he's kind of like the central character that people revolve around, but really it just involves how this band destroys its keyboardists.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, it's not as funny as you'd like it to be, but it's still interesting.
Yeah. It's because it's got Maggie Gyllenhaal and Michael Fassbender in it, right?
Yeah.
Those are the only two people I know.
Yeah, that's all the two people should know. Oh shit. The producer in the beginning of the movie, he's like a character actor, you'll see him. It's like, oh yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name, so he hasn't transcended that guy status, but you'll know him when you see him. It's like,
yeah,
that guy.
The only reason I ever heard about it was because John Ronson wrote who writes some of my favorite books. Like, you'd probably know him from They, or The Men Who Stare at Ghosts, or The Psychopath Test. I think we've all covered those on this podcast at one point or another. So, but yeah, he was talking about that on Mark Maron. It's like, so tell me about Frank. It's like, he's a weirdo. What can I say? He's a weirdo. Did he really wear the head all the time? Yeah. But he didn't want to, or it was something funny. It was like the story, even he was talking to Mark Maron about it, is like, yeah, I could see what you're saying. It's like, oh, this doesn't really seem like the story that, because he was trying to explain the movie, and because they said they had a hard time making the movie, I guess. Because it was eventually a film company in Ireland that fronted all the money for it. Only because Michael Fassbender was attached to it.
Yeah, it's a good watch. It's definitely interesting. If you like weird movies, it's another weird movie. So.
Well, yeah, it was a weird time in music too. Well, because John Ronson was talking about it mainly from the viewpoint of like British prog rock, how strange it was getting.
Yeah.
That time, it's like, oh, we just have characters like this, like a guy with a big head. And like that was his thing. So like, were they good musicians? No, they were terrible. But it was just a guy with a big head, and that was sort of the hook. But yeah, it was. So it was. That's how he described it, which I always thought was interesting.
And I don't think I have much more to say about that. And then the other one I watched was The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt.
Never heard of that.
It's a Netflix-only series, so
oh, okay.
You're not gonna see it. It's a Tina Fey.
Me and my wild internet, all the stuff I'm in contact with now.
It's a Tina Fey show. They originally made it for NBC, but I guess they backed out on it, and then Netflix picked it up.
Oh, okay.
It's about a girl who was like kidnapped by a weird cult leader who thought the world was going to end. So he put like these three, I don't know, was it four women in this nuclear bunker, and they're like down there for like 15 years, and then they finally get released into the world. And this one girl, Kimmy Schmidt, she just has like this, weird, unending enthusiasm, and she's like trying to make it in New York, and she doesn't want people to know that she's like one of the mole women. That's what they call them, the mole women of Indiana. She doesn't want people's pity, so she tries to like hide what happened to her, and she's still basically, she's like a 30-year-old child, and like all her references are from the 90s, so basically me. Yeah, it's really good, but actually I want to say I'm kind of disappointed in it. I really like the main character, like she's really good, but what they do with the other characters, like it's not so good. They kind of pull it together near the end, which might be when NBC stopped producing it and Netflix started producing it.
Oh, okay. When the real writing started.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I'd be interested in seeing more, but it was okay. It ended up being okay. It was basically, you remember that movie Blast from the Past?
Yeah.
So it's basically that. But a television show.
Oh, okay.
But there is a really good appearance by John Hamm. He's like the cult leader. And there's a funny joke where he hands $100 bill. He's representing himself in the case, and he walks up to the jury and he hands one of the jury members a $100 bill, and he's like talking about like what Benjamin Franklin believed in. Oh wait, that is $100, right?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, I didn't want to fuck that up. He's talking about like what Benjamin Franklin believed in and like freedom and stuff like that. And then like he walks away and he like looks at the jury members like, you can keep that, and then he walks away.
Yeah, you.
And then like their lawyers for the prosecuting lawyers. One of them is Tina Fey. And like they're like this weird team who they seem to be more interested in like trying to make their relationship work rather than like to prosecute this guy, and so they're like end up being very inept, and like the guys, the cult leader guy is like basically winning everyone's hearts and minds, and is about to win this case, and then Kimmy has to come in and like figure it all out and get this guy put in jail. So yeah, so that was all the stuff I saw and played.
Okay. Give you a quick synopsis of what I've seen lately. All of Band of Brothers, all of Pacific, and I'm halfway through Generation Kill. So I've been doing a lot of
war kick, huh?
Well, yeah, just a theme. I've been doing a lot of sewing lately, so I was like watching stuff while I was sewing things. And have new weirdo projects coming up, new costumes to wear in public.
What do you think of Generation Kill? I'm not sure if you've seen it, or have you seen it before, or do you just?
I read the book and we talked
okay.
about it once, but I think we should talk about it again upon seeing. I'm halfway through the HBO special, so maybe we should clear out a block of time in our busy podcast schedule to talk about it because it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean
wasn't this like your genesis for like, oh, the Marines look like the branch of the service for me?
Yeah, I was like, these guys are cool, professional, and fucking weird.
Strange warrior philosophers.
Yeah, like guys like talking about like raw America, and then like kill, 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 and also I'm reading the Communist Manifesto, just because.
Yeah. I like the guy who they were going through the village that had been bombed, and he looked at the people and he's like, "We thank you for voting Republican." Oh, so yeah, that's pretty interesting.
And those
I remember I was watching this. I was like, "Is this Catch-22, or what are we trying to do here? This seems like to have a Joseph Heller vibe." But then again, it's also like war correspondent stuff.
It was done by
because they were asking the guy like, "Do you have any Rolling Stone weed?"
I mean, the guys who made the show, the TV show, they did The Wire, so it kind of has that expertise behind it. Also, I think one of the Wire creators is also a Marine, so.
Oh, okay.
And
Yeah, it seems to be done with a deft hand. It's like you really feel kind of identify with some of the, not necessarily the officers, a few of them,
Yeah.
but like the one guy, it's like, why do you talk that way? That's throat cancer, or even
Oh,
smoke.
Godfather, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because he doesn't seem like, some of the officers seem really stupid, and then there's that guy who kind of pulls it all together. But like I said, I'm only halfway through it, and I've read the book, and there's some differences there, so we'll probably talk about the TV show.
Yeah. Well, I've read the book too.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's mostly a lot of the same, but like some events were condensed together to be one event, which you can see why they do that. And
Yeah.
then some things aren't in there. Like some of my favorite scenes, like when the guy blows up the Russian tank, like that was not in the show, but I remember that part where like, because they told him like sneak up on the tank and blow it up, and like in the book it makes it seem like they just told one guy to go do that. I was like, why would you send one guy to go blow up a tank? But he takes the AT-4 rocket, and he thinks like, all right, I don't think I'm gonna be able to blow up the tank with just this rocket, so I'm gonna shoot it in the gas tank, so at least I'll disable it. He shoots it in the gas, and he gets up really close to make sure he doesn't miss. Shoots in the gas tank, and like the whole thing just fucking explodes. And then he comes back, and he's like, "Did you get it?" He's like, "What?"
Oh. Yeah, we'll have to discuss that. It's a pretty good show. I remember seeing it, and I remember reading the book, but yeah, like I said, I'm on some kick now where I'm doing a lot of stuff in my room. So it's like, yeah, let's watch this Amazon Prime I pay $100 a year for. I think they've justified the price increase though, because they have everything. It's like, did you ever miss any episode of The Sopranos? It's here.
Yeah.
And it's here permanently. Have you ever seen The Wire front to back? Here's your chance. And all in HD. I can watch it on my big TV, my little TV.
Yeah.
My iPad. I do all three of them. Well, my iPad I do HBO Go. I don't use Prime for that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's a big thing now.
What, HBO Go?
Yeah, $15 a month, unlimited HBO
Yeah.
to your device.
Did they start that yet?
Companies are flipping out. Yep, it rolls out with the new season of Game of Thrones.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Big fuck you to. Well, it's a fuck you to some people, and people like you, it's a fuck you to your bandwidth restriction. We haven't got that here yet. That's coming though. The net neutrality thing's slowly moving through, so pretty soon we'll all be paying $400 a month for fucking internet.
Is Game of Thrones, are they on their own now? Are they out of book material?
No, not yet.
Okay, after this season they're out of book material?
Well, unless they stretch. They've done a lot of padding, as I remember. The Winds of Winter comes out in September, though, I think.
Oh. Because I heard...
The next one.
Well, I heard that they're supposed to... I've read some article that they're going to start diverging the books in the series. So that now characters that die in the series might live in the books and stuff like that, because they just don't have enough pre-made content to keep that.
Well, yeah, HBO's saying they want a 10-year arc.
Yeah.
And George R.R. Martin agrees with them. He's like, "You should. You're doing a great show."
I might not be here.
Yeah, I might not be here for it, but yeah, they want to. I mean, they had. Now, let me say that. Let me qualify that though. Game of Thrones, the TV series, they've padded in a good way. Unlike The Hobbit, where they padded in kind of a bad, weird way. Like Game of Thrones has only in the HBO series has only enhanced what was already pretty well done fiction. So yeah, it's a good possibility.
Well, I've read the books, but I hear like people talk about like how it's almost it's almost like the TV show is dealing with moments that like aren't in the book. Like this is what you imagine would happen with these other characters while other people are off doing this thing.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they do.
Okay.
But they do it well. Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry, I was wrong. No plans for the Winds of Winter in 2015. So, fuck you, fans. No, they still have a Dance with Dragons. They can get 2 seasons out of that.
Huh.
I think is the next one. I don't know. Like I said, it's been so long since I've read those books. I mean, like I said, the first book, Game of Thrones, is like 1994. I was running around telling everyone, "This is awesome!" Of course, again, then I was friends with like Matt and some other like Artie and people like who totally like they think that shit's stupid. They're like, "Good, Nathan, I'm glad your wizard book is awesome. Stupid shit you're into, that's great." Because they don't neither Matt or Artie or any of my friends from Indiana at that time in my life would care. They'd be like, "What? Dragons? What's going? This is dumb."
Michael Jordan and the Wheel of Fine.
Yeah, well, what the fuck are you doing? What are you wasting time on this shit for? Because I'm not really good with my hands and working on cars. Well, that's true. You're right. Yeah, Dance with Dragons. I don't know where they are in the book. I don't know if they're through A Feast for Crows yet or not.
I thought
Or
they
the
were.
TV series. I'm not sure.
Because they
I'm no expert on this.
they ended with. Oh, maybe we shouldn't spoil anything. But like they had like their kind of like climactic battle at the wall with the wildlings,
Yeah.
and then the stuff with the mountain and the viper, and then
That was a cool fight.
Tyrion Lannister. Like,
When he
Happens-
shoots his dad.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, that's the end of
Smuggle me
Dance
away.
with. That's the end of Feast for Crows.
okay.
So they're going to be in there. Yeah, Dance with Dragons. They still have that, and they can stretch that over 2 more years because it's a double book that's coming out. Winds of Winter and Dream of Spring. Because George R. Martin, of course, sat down and wrote. It's like this book is the Winds of Winter, and it's like that's 2,500 pages, George. I only split this into 2. Oh, okay. So. So we'll see what happens.
And then they
He's a
have
funny guy, though. You ever seen him interviewed?
no.
No, he's hilarious. He's the smartest guy in the room, and he knows it. Even when he's on Conan O'Brien, it's like, yep, I'm the smartest guy here. That he really is.
I can't remember. There's some quote with him where it's like, "You have to be nice to me, or I'll kill your favorite character."
Yeah. What were you saying? There was a contest where he would write you into Game of Thrones if you pledged enough money to this charity and kill your character and
Yeah.
or something like that. Yeah. Yeah, he's a funny guy.
They have plans for like the first Star Wars movie that's not Star Wars. It's like a
Yeah, the Joss Whedon's the Rogue Squadron movie or whatever.
I think they're having Ryan Johnson do that one,
Oh, okay, okay.
which that dude doesn't make bad stuff, so I'm really excited about that one.
Oh, I believe me. For what Disney paid for that franchise, they're gonna throw some serious cash and talent.
Well,
at it.
I just like that. Well, I mean, Ryan Johnson is an obvious talent because like it's like we're gonna get the Looper guy to make Star Wars, but he's directed some of the best Breaking Bad episodes, and he hasn't made a bad movie. Like I think maybe Brothers Bloom might be his like maybe not as good as the other one movies, but I still really like that one. I almost like that one more than I like Looper, but Looper's just weird and cool, and so. But yeah, that should be good. Like give that guy $200 million to make a movie. I'm pretty sure they get your money's worth.
Yeah.
Yeah. So talking about George R. R. Martin, and then I was thought like, is George Lucas like the is George Lucas and George R. R. Martin, are they like on the opposite ends of spectrums and things? And then I thought so.
Yeah, that could be.
I don't know.
That's a 5-year gap between Looper and the Star Wars.
He's done a lot of TV too.
He seems like a real nice guy when he was on. I think he was on Kevin Smith's podcast.
Yeah.
He seemed like a real down to earth, cool guy.
Yeah. He kind of like when you hear him talk, he kind of has that air of I don't know, air. He's just a really nice Midwestern kind of guy, and then but not at all the way he talks is not at all the way his characters talk.
Yeah.
He has that really clever dialogue where it's almost like Maltese Falcon kind of dialogue. I can't remember the guy who wrote Maltese Falcon. I can't remember his name. That's the dialogue he emulates.
Oh, okay.
I think it's something Miller or something like that.
Yeah, I can't think of the name right now that you're doing. Well, let's see. Anyway, we had Oliver Stone's Untold History of the United States.
Oh yeah, I forgot. We're gonna talk about that. I watched
Yeah.
it. So we can talk about it.
Part 6. Or as one critic says, how the world was saved by the Soviets. This reviewer also says that Oliver Stone's documentary is neo-communist, which is oh wow, we're really going back, aren't we? I just picked that one quote out of it, but that was this is kind of the midway point in the series, I think, or at least this is where we learn all about JFK and the ramping. The Cold War has reached its apex.
Yeah.
And we learn a lot about the Cuban Missile Crisis, and we learned a lot about the part I liked about it was the part I've told people this shit before and they don't believe me, is the missile gap, and when because both Kennedy and Nixon campaigned on the missile gap, and that missile gap, the fictional missile gap was that the Soviets had a huge advantage in missiles.
Yeah.
And we of course were lagging behind, and then when Kennedy wins and he talks to McNamara, he's like, "What is the missile gap?" He's like, "It's pretty big. We have way more ICBMs, bombers, and all other types of nuclear weapons than the Russians do. That's the real missile gap, not the one that was campaigned on, though." Yeah.
What is the gap? There is no gap. I mean, there's a gap between us and them, but we're ahead by what? By about 1,000 times?
Yeah. Well, that's what people don't understand, and this is the first place, because I showed this part to Grayson over and over again. I said, pay attention to these numbers, because they were showing some, of course, that stock footage of the Russian Red Square parades, and it's like, that's how many missiles the Russians had at that time. This is how many we had. Let me rewind that for you. That's how many missiles the Russians had. This is how many we had. We also had a superior economy, superior technology, a lot more allies in the world than the Russians, the Soviets, ever could dream of having. And everything we had was better, but yet we were afraid. There was fear. Because I keep telling Grayson, if you're going to learn one thing, because now he watches them with me to a certain extent, it's like, well, if you're going to learn one thing from this series, it's like, just remember this constant fear that permeates our society. This is the fear. These are the facts. It's like, what the fuck are we afraid of? We have 100 times more nuclear weapons than the Soviets. Why are we quaking in our boots? But it also does a good job of explaining the paranoia of that time, because I also have that episode DVR'd about in the Twilight Zone, when the guy builds the shelter.
Yeah.
And then something cuts loose and everyone wants in his shelter and it turns out to be nothing. I said, that was the fear of that time. Is like, not everyone built a shelter because it's kind of a waste of money, and it's like, what are you going to live to plant your flag on? But I said, this is the kind of fear that when everyone talks about all this, and I said, and it even translates to stuff nowadays. It's like, the terrorists are coming. Are they? When's the last time they were here? 13 years ago. What did they do? They stole our planes and crashed them into buildings. It's like, should we be afraid of them? I'm not going to lose sleep at night over them. Definitely be aware of them. Have people out there looking to kill them. We've covered those bases, but let's not just live in fear of, this is the same kind of stuff. This keeps coming up in history over and over again. So this is something I try to teach my son. It's like, watch this show. See, they were scared shitless of nothing back then too. I mean, it wasn't nothing. There were thousands of nuker weapons.
Yes, they were nuclear weapons that could kill us all, but
yeah, they were aimed at everyone.
and we decided that we weren't gonna recognize any kind of humanity in the Russians, so it was nothing but dark figures preparing the end of the world.
Yeah, just dark people from hell who only wanted to end the world. They don't have human motivations at all. They're just wild beasts. Yeah, that's stupid. Things like that about people. Of course, the Russians didn't do anything to help their own case by some of their actions, but yeah, this was again another cockeyed view of history. Kind of history told from the side you never hear. It's like, what did Khrushchev think, and what did some of the people around him think, and it doesn't make it seem crazy. Like almost every history you read of the Cuban Missile Crisis, it's like the lunatic Russians gave a Cuban madman the key to the missiles, and it was like 300 miles from Washington or whatever. But never mind the fact we had ringed the Soviet Union with all kinds of weapons. Both nuclear and non. And then we had guys like Curtis LeMay who just thought that nuclear weapons apparently were a bigger form of napalm that he dropped so effectively in Japan in World War II. Guys like LeMay actually believed it's like, oh yeah, we're going to do this toe-to-toe with the Soviet monster. And it's like, yeah, you're talking about millions of lives.
Like, yeah, we said like if we destroy the world and there's 2 Americans left and 1 Russian, we win.
What the one guy says, like, better hope one of those is female because there's not going to be much of a world. Yeah, exactly. That's it's like there's a fictional novel based on historical fact and the military technology of that time. It's called When Angels Wept. It's what would have happened if we had invaded Cuba, because there was 2 things that were made the Cuban Missile Crisis very dangerous beyond what the public knew. One of them was that a Cuban general did have the launch codes, and also the guy who was leading the Russian contingent there was the guy who his experience of siege warfare was Stalingrad. So that was the colonel on the ground in Cuba. And so nobody knew exactly who would launch the missiles or when, and if they hit Washington, which they could have, because the missiles were in a much more active state than what we knew. And then anyway, in the book, When Angels Wept, it just describes the virtual nuclear genocide of the Soviet people. In that world, Russians were a rare people after after what they called the Kennedy War or whatever, because somebody fired a nuke at Washington and killed Kennedy and the entire Joint Chiefs of Staff and everyone, and the only plan they had was, we're going to go by PSYOP. And if you followed the rules of PSYOP, which the author of this novel assumed they would, it was virtually a nuclear annihilation of the entire Russian continent. There was no square foot that was not, because they actually ran out of targets and they just went in and kept resurfacing old targets. Like, oh, we got to get that in case there's anything left. And we still had 50% of our arsenal left. And of course, we were the biggest pariahs in the world since the Nazis, because we'd killed 200 million people and also rendered most of Asia uninhabitable. And that was sort of the end of the book. But it was kind of a portrayal of, like, this is what would have happened in the Cuban Missile Crisis if they would have launched and we had no command and control to kind of rein in the nuclear sword. It's guys like LeMay would have been like, yep, unlimited warfare. This is just really big napalm.
We're just gonna walk these nuclear weapons grid by grid.
Yep. So that's but of course, as we know, that didn't happen, thank God. And there was another hero of the this is a more well-known thing now, but it didn't come to light until the 90s, was Vasily Arkhipov, who was the commander of the Russian submarine, or one of the commanders of the Russian submarine.
He says he's a political officer, and then he says he's like the second commander or something at some point.
Well, it was weird. He was the political officer on that submarine technically outranked by his captain, but also had the rank of flotilla captain who controlled all 3 of the submarines. It's like, okay, I don't know what that means. But this guy is the same guy. Remember the movie K-19, The Widowmaker?
Yeah.
Remember the guy Liam Neeson played?
Yeah.
This is the same guy.
Huh.
He was just, this is what he did after that. Yeah, Vasily Arkhipov was the guy who voted, because they were being depth charged by a destroyer, and it was just to fuck with them. If the American destroyer wanted to destroy them, they would have, but they were just kind of setting them shallow and messing with them. And the captain totally freaked out, and he was going to launch a B-59 nuclear torpedo at the destroyer, which would have destroyed not only that destroyer, but the 2 carriers we had down there and a lot of the flotilla, then which would have started World War III. Because it's not like anyone would have figured out right away what happened. It's like, oh, it was just a submarine. No need to freak out. No, there's this huge mushroom cloud, and the USS Constellation just got vaporized. But this was the guy who voted against it, and was the reason that they didn't. This didn't escalate to a nuclear exchange, which very easily could have.
Well, it said something like they knocked out their communications or whatever because something went wrong in the sub, and so they thought like, oh, war has started and we're not doing anything. We need to defend Russia's honor by killing millions of people.
Defend the motherland and irradiate the redneck Riviera in Florida. But they, somebody laid a wreath on his grave. I thought it was a president, but it wasn't. I think it was a CIA director, but somebody like who knew what went on.
Yeah,
it's like this guy literally saved the world, or at least saved the Russian from complete nuclear annihilation. But that was those were I never heard that. I never heard the story. His story told as completely as this.
Yeah, which not much, but at least it's a mention.
Yeah. It's like, is this guy important? Yeah, he saved the world.
He's Russia's Wallace.
Yeah. Well, and he also got irradiated, remember, in the Widowmaker. Like, everyone on that ship got exposed to lethal amounts of radiation trying to shut down those reactors.
Yeah. So
he was a hero twice because that submarine didn't go into the bottom of the ocean. Just another Russian reactor sitting at the bottom of the ocean. So is there anything in this you didn't know that you felt? This is pretty well-trod territory, though.
Yeah, this is more like kind of other perspective rather than necessarily new information. I mean, yeah, I didn't know about this guy. Can't remember his name.
Vasily.
Yeah.
Arkhipov.
Arkhipov. Yeah, I never heard
Captain
that. Captain
second rank. Vasily Arkhipov.
That was new. I think they said that. I think they said something like the American people were told that nuclear weapons were coming to Cuba, but they had already had the nuclear weapons in Cuba at that time.
Yeah. The Americans were told that the weapons were on ships and they were planning. The Joint Chiefs of Staff and the President, through U-2 spy planes, thought the missiles would be operational within a window. They didn't realize some of the missiles were already operational.
Oh, okay.
That's where nobody knew that, and that's why the invasion of Cuba would have been because they also had battlefield nukes that they were going to deploy in case the Americans invade, because they know they couldn't field an army to stop America in Cuba. But however, if they use battlefield nukes, you could stop a lot of people.
Yeah.
But then that just accelerates into, again, once nuclear weapons are employed, control, command, that all breaks down quickly, and your decision tree gets to it leads to one direction. Push the button. So, but again, this is well-trod territory. So, the ruthlessness of the Mongoose campaign was that was a little. I think that would be eye-opening to some people.
Which one was that?
That's where we blew up factories and killed people in Cuba to depose Castro. And
yeah.
It's like if anyone had done that here, we would incinerate them. But it was okay for us to do it to the Cubans. Because we killed like 1,100 Cubans blowing up factories and doing terrorist type stuff. Basically, funding an insurgency.
The one stupid thing I like was Operation Ortsac.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, you guys are stupid.
You guys are just fucking around.
You guys are just doing D&D with nuclear weapons.
It's amazing. It's the same mentality. It's whether somebody's got a 12-sided dice or a machine gun in their hand. It's all the same mentality. It's just a lot less damage with the 12-sided dice or 20-sided dice or whatever. And they talked a lot about the Berlin Wall.
Yeah. How that was like effective to calming like the tension at the time or something.
Yeah, well, it was to stop the flight.
Yeah.
So many people from east were just flying to the west because it's like, look, they have food. It's not a hard thing to, We always like to tell ourselves it's because they love our freedom. It's like, no, they love franken beans. They like to eat on a regular basis. Freedom and all that's nice. Color TV, that's great, but really having food in your gut, that's that motivates people pretty quickly.
Oh, and then the other thing I guess I never like thought about before is they had this perspective about like, because we were putting nuclear weapons all around Russia, and Russia was really afraid that we're gonna put some in West Germany to point at the Russians, and then the Russians were like, you fucking can't. You can't put weapons in Germans' hands. They're gonna shoot Russians. You can't do that. And don't put the nuclear weapon in the Germans' hands.
Well, they feared that whole German-Polish corridor. It's like that's been used how many times to invade Russia? Because we just don't think of the Germans as people to be afraid of. It's because the one time we fought them, it's like, well, victory. So we don't we don't have the 1,000-year history from the Teutonic Knights to Hitler where they were always trying to just kill as many Slavs as they could get their hands on. But yeah, that was well done. One of the things I think they again, the first Jesus was Wallace, and now we're into the second Jesus of JFK, talking about the Vietnam War. They kind of gloss over JFK's troop buildup.
Yeah.
I think they should have put a little more attention to that.
Yeah, I think
JFK did a lot more to build that war up than what this would seem to indicate.
Yeah, but then that goes against
everything else I've read is wrong, but
that makes JFK look in a bad light. When here you're trying to shine all the light up his ass.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I do kind of like how they deal with Khrushchev, and it's like Khrushchev, possibly helped save the world, and now he's just in a corner grave somewhere in Russia, and everyone's forgotten about him.
Yeah. Yeah, that's that is true though.
Yeah.
In some ways, I mean, because Khrushchev did it. The way the Cuban Missile Crisis ended cost Khrushchev his political career.
Yeah.
And it did. He sent his family. I mean, he was in internal exile. So.
Yeah.
But it might have been a little overstated. There was a lot of problems with Khrushchev's. Khrushchev did so much to dismantle Stalin's cult of personality that a lot of people in the senior leadership in Russia feared that it's like you're going to weaken the mantle of the premiership by dismantling.
You need to kill more people indiscriminately, like Stalin did.
Yeah, it's like it's okay to tear down the guy that.
You know what I'm gonna do to you? I don't fear you. You're not gonna kill me in my sleep.
Yeah. I have nothing to fear from you. You won't poison my family. But yeah, I didn't see too much revisionist stuff here. Just a lot of like, let's leave out the bad parts of Kennedy.
Yeah. I mean, there's even some stuff where they're putting words in Kennedy's mouth, where he's like, "Yeah, we don't want to be in Vietnam. I was there in the '50s, and it sucked."
It's not really.
There's some stuff where they tried to give JFK foresight because he didn't live long enough to see the result of it, which I found kind of iffy. I don't know.
Well, these are the guys who like the stuff with the Vietnam was the Dien when Diem was killed. That was a coup that the CIA carried out. when Kennedy was, that was the leader of the South Vietnam. They killed that guy, the guy who was doing all the censorship and like you couldn't have free speech and like no more than 3 people could gather in public and all all that horseshit. That was that was their guy until he started talking friendly terms with China or try to find some other sponsor in the in the different world or different sphere of influence in America, and then of course they killed him in a coup, and they also killed Treo in Central America. The Kennedys did that. That didn't even get mentioned here. It's like, really? Wait, you're not going to talk about that? I mean, that's speculation whether either of those things happened, but I've never read anything where people are like, no, absolutely not. The president was innocent as a newborn babe and those people were being killed. It's like, come on. So, but anyway, again, very good, very informative.
Yeah.
The things I liked, I really liked, and the things I didn't like, I can kind of ignore. Because I know what he's doing. I mean, I understand. JFK, this is well-trodden territory for him.
Yeah.
I mean, this launched his career as, I don't know, what would you call it? Because if you call him a revisionist historian, it's kind of has that connotation of he's making shit up. I don't think it's that, but it's like, JFK was his because before that he did like war movies, like about my experiences during war, my thoughts on war, my missives on war, and then after JFK, it's like this is history that you haven't been told.
Yeah.
Which JFK, of course, as we know, in retrospect, the movie's kind of hit or miss, and some things that's like that's really cool never happened. Damn it! Fuck, that was cool. That's interesting. And that's an Oliver Stoneism. Like you've got to accept that about Oliver Stone. It's like you're going to get Oliver Stone's history. You're not going to, if you. I've always I was talking to somebody about this documentary. I was like, if this is too left wing a history for you, just go read some Stephen Ambrose to even out. Just have a cool down reading of Saving Private Ryan or something, because that'll make you feel better. Because Ambrose is of course the right wing historian, where it's like America can do no wrong. So you can sort of balance that out with this if you feel like you need to, or you can just listen to it. Enjoy it. But this is and then of course we had the JFK assassination stuff, which I mean, it's been touched on before. Nothing new there.
Yeah.
I didn't find anything. I was kind of hoping for some like maybe acknowledging like some stuff I said in that movie I made in 1990 maybe it wasn't true, but of course you didn't hear that. So.
I just said like Lee Harvey Oswald was strange that he claimed his innocence, but now we'll never know.
We'll never know. Dun dun dun. Now, don't get me wrong though. As a film, JFK is one of the best fucking movies ever made. Yeah. I mean, it's an awesome movie. You don't have to necessarily be actual factual just to appreciate the art of it.
If you want to see editing at work, that is one of the that is one of the most well edited movies of all time.
Who edited that, by the way?
Oh, I can't remember. I think she edits all his movies. I think it's a she. But yeah, that was revolutionary.
Well, that was one of the first movies to like intersperse things that looked like stock film, but they were actually the actors, and that was the first one I remember seeing like that.
Yeah.
It's like that was an amazing movie on a lot of levels. Probably the best cast you'll ever get, because you can have Tommy Lee Jones, Kevin Bacon, Kevin Costner, Gary Oldman. I can't think of who else.
Who's the
lady from Roseanne?
Who's the fat guy? That's the Candy.
John Candy. Yeah, he plays the lawyer. He's only in it for a little bit. And then you got the Martin Sheen narrating it. I mean, that's like, holy shit.
It's Joe Hutching.
Oh, okay.
And Pietro Scalia.
Oh, okay.
So, those are the guys who edited that. Man, I'm thinking of the chick that edits all of Quentin Tarantino's movies. She's really good, too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they did JFK, and like you can see that editing style even continue forward and making Natural Born Killers a better movie than it had any right to be.
Yeah. And Nixon was like, they had a lot of that.
Yeah, a bit lower key, but still good.
Yeah, I always liked Nixon.
Yeah.
Biggest box office bomb I ever loved. But I can see why a lot of people didn't like it.
Yeah.
Like when I tried to, hey, Stacy, let's watch this. I love this movie. This movie inspired me to read everything I have about Nixon. And we watched it, and I swear to God, I thought she's like, I'm in hell right now. I was like, okay, well, it's not
like
for everyone.
It's like almost a 3-hour movie, right?
4 hours. If I have like the double din collection, like, oh, we got all the extras and everything.
And they cut out that Sam Waters part, which is really cool. He has like the black eyes, and he's like,
yes, I love that when he's playing. Oh, who's the guy who wrote the book, The Look Over My Shoulder? Was it Helms? Director Helms of the CIA.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did this with Soarto in the 60s, and it's like, you remember all that, and yeah, his eyes are just totally black. It's like, that's fucking awesome. We know that didn't happen, but shit, is it cool. Well, I always thought it was the most impressive about Nixon was Anthony Hopkins' performance.
Yeah.
He looked nothing like Nixon. Nothing. He
Yeah.
was smaller than Nixon, had a bigger head than Nixon, and you believed he was Nixon.
Yeah, that was the same thing he went with in the commentary. He talks about how like when he did Kevin Costner, he's like, Kevin Costner doesn't look like that guy, but
Jim Garrison.
yeah, but he's like, it's like he fit the part, so that's who we hired. We hired the best person for the part. So.
Well, they had weird makeup, I guess, for to make it. They could make him look exactly like Nixon.
Yeah.
And he said, "I can't act with all that shit on my face. Are you kidding me?"
Yeah, they kind of just did the nose and then left the rest of them.
Yeah. Because you can see, like, when what was the latest X-Men movie?
Yeah.
Like, that was a real exaggerated Nixon. Nixon was never that fat. But yeah, Anthony Hopkins was the perfect. Actually, a lot of people in that movie were really good. James Woods, Paul Sorvino, the guy who played Ehrlichman. I can't think of his name. I think that guy's dead though, because he has like initials for a name. J.T. Walsh.
Then was it the guy from Who Framed Roger Rabbit and that weird fucking J. Edgar Hoover?
Oh, who's making out with the pool boy and stuff. Yeah, Oliver Stone really hated J. Edgar Hoover. Yeah, that was whatever happened to that guy?
What?
Bob Hoskins.
Died of a heart attack.
Oh, he did? That sucks.
Yeah. I think the last movie he did was that Unleashed movie with Jet Li, which he was good
Oh,
in
that's
that.
right. That's right. Yeah, that was a good movie. Nixon.
Mario Brothers kind of ruined his career.
Huh?
I said Mario Brothers kind of ruined his career.
Yeah. He was Roger Rabbit. How long ago was he in Roger Rabbit?
That was like 88, something like that.
I know he was Pink's manager in The Wall too.
Hmm.
Was Roger Rabbit 1988?
I believe it was in the 80s.
Wow. Yeah, I guess it was.
I'll look it up.
Because this has a lot to do with what we're talking about.
Yeah, 1988.
Oh, okay. Super Mario Brothers. That's the one that had Dennis Hopper was in that, right?
Yep, he played King Koopa.
That's right.
There's actually like you go back and watch that movie. There's some weird, interesting shit to that movie, but it's still just a shitty movie.
Who directed it?
Oh shit, I can't remember.
I suppose they're not working anymore.
I think there was some people like behind that movie that made them think that it was going to be a lot better than it actually was.
It seems like something like if you came to someone, it's like, we want to make this into a movie. Like, how the fuck would you do that? This was not the way, but
Yeah, and Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo are brothers.
God, how old would John Leguizamo have been back then?
Oh, like 22 or something. I don't know.
Wow.
Um,
It's got to be his first movie.
no, he was in stuff before that, but that was probably one of his first like co-starring roles.
Oh, he's in Die Hard too.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I think he gets shot early on, like the first guy gets shot or something. Yeah, he was in a bunch of movies where like playing like like Fifth Navy SEAL or something. Like he was in like Executive Decision and stuff like that. And,
Oh, that's right.
he's in a lot. He did a lot of bit stuff and a lot of shit. So it's directed by Annabelle Jenkins and Jenkel and Rocky Morton,
Huh.
who they do not have. Apparently, they were directors on the Max Headroom show.
Cool.
So that might have been where all the weird shit was coming from.
Definitely. I always liked the Max Headroom TV show. It's a weird fucking show. For the
I always-
time it was out, it was like, what the hell is this?
I remember like the style of it, but I'd never actually like seen an episode of that. Like I just remember like the weird glitchy thing and the way the guy talked, and then like there's like lasers in the background. But that's all I
Yeah.
remember about it.
Well, it was a BBC show, so
Oh, okay. I thought it was like some weird Canadian show or something.
I thought it was BBC because they always had a lot of British actors in it. It's like, this is in America. What the fuck's going on?
Who wrote?
Oh, ABC co-developed it. Okay.
Okay.
Can't find it anywhere though. I mean, I don't know why you'd want to watch it now. That was like,
No, I guess there wasn't anybody really who. The everybody behind Super Mario Brothers didn't seem to really have, except for one guy. Apparently he's one of the writers on it, Ed Solomon. He did like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. He wrote
I can
that.
see that.
Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, which is I think that's one of the most misunderstood movies ever. That's a great fucking movie, and I think people don't remember it. Oh, he wrote Men in Black. Jesus, after he wrote Super Mario Brothers, that was one hell of a comeback.
Yeah, you're doing good.
Oh, and then he wrote Now You See Me. That was the latest movie he did. That's where the magicians like rob a bank.
Oh, okay. That was
But
a big
it's-
flop, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's that had like such a great premise, and then it gets way. It has like a big twist in it, but then it just gets weird and doesn't make any sense. Like it almost has like a Prestige like esque twist in that movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Huh.
but it doesn't deserve it, and you don't care. Because the weird thing about that movie is that like you watch the trailers and you think that Jesse Eisenberg is like, or maybe Woody Harrelson is like the star of that movie, but no, Mark Ruffalo is the star of that movie,
Oh, okay.
and he's like the bad guy because he's trying to stop them from robbing banks.
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
Huh.
Well, went down the
Yeah.
internet movie database rabbit hole.
Yeah, here we go. Exciting for everyone.
I could do most of that off the top of my head, but not all of it. All just talking about Oliver Stone movies.
Oliver Stone movie somehow we got on Super Mario Brothers. Well, sequel to Pacific Rim's they're making.
Yeah, I think what's that studio that makes those movies? I can't even
I
think
don't
of it.
know.
God damn it. Crap. Now I need to know. The studio that made that movie, they put a lot of money behind that, so they felt kind of an obligation to continue the franchise. God damn, I can't remember. It's got that weird, like, almost looks like a Celtic symbol.
Yeah, can't think who they are.
And I think I think they produced like the like the Superman movie, the new one. God damn it, I have to know. Pacific Rim Production Company. We're gonna keep this silence until I find this.
Maintain the silence.
Legendary Pictures. That's it.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. All right. Well, I don't have anything else for this week, do you?
No, I could probably find something else, but we're gonna end it here.
We're going to end it here. All right, this week for the American Read Factory podcast, this is Nathan.
And this is Conlon. Goodbye, America.
That's it. Bye, everyone.
Let me stop the broadcast.